saying, well, just because I thought it was horrible, isn't that like a moral judgment? And what I really should be doing is talking about whether something is effective or not, and maybe even the fact that I hate it so much might mean that it's good. And also, nobody wants to be like Bosley Crowther in the New York Times, who famously said that Bonnie and Clyde was a bad movie, and it was, because he was just behind the times, didn't understand it. And maybe the critic will wind up saying, well, maybe, this is just some kind of new version of good that I don't know about. And so they'll wind up just saying something like, instead of saying this is just appalling and sick, they'll say something like, there's a disturbing yet effective scene of somebody killing everybody in the movie theater. And that'll be about it. And I totally understand it, because here's the thing. This is very important. People have been writing to me since then saying, well, how could any critic do something like that, and aren't you being, not really doing your job? And actually, no, the critic is doing the job, because here's the thing. The worst critics in the world, the worst writers in the world, the people who have no business reviewing movies, are people who say, they'll see a movie, and they'll say, there's a certain kind of movie that I don't like. This is the kind of movie that I don't like, therefore this movie is no good. But if you just don't like this movie because you don't like that kind of movie generically, then you're not really reviewing anything. Anybody could say, well, I don't like action movies, or I don't like love stories.
But is saying that I don't like violent movies along those same lines?
Yeah, I think so. But I can't say that I don't like violent movies anyway. I mean, there's some violent movies I really like. I just like Django Unchained, which in a lot of ways is extremely violent, but it's not in a way that I think is destructive. And in any case, it's rated R,
right,
which is different. The Dark Knight Rises, it was rated PG-13.
Yeah, there's an interesting comparison you made in your article, and of course this comparison comes up a lot, which is sexuality is put to a very different filter than is violence. If you had sexuality at the level that you have violence in Dark Knight Rises, it may well have merited an NC-17. It's very contradictory the way we look at those things.
It wouldn't even get made, because to really, I say, okay, sexuality is a little bit different than violence, because sexuality at a certain point isn't being faked anymore, it's actually happening. Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas violence is not happening. And even Tarantino yesterday, who's considered really, violent in his movies, although his movies, I think of his movies, most of his movies, at least all his good movies, the violence is motivated, and it's cartoonish, and it's a little bit different. But he was saying that the one thing that he can't stand watching in a movie is something real, like animals getting abused or animals getting killed or something. Is that that's like something he just doesn't want to watch. And so sex is a little bit different, because when two people are having sex, they're actually having sex. So, but yeah, it would have to be NC-17. It would be like simulated sexuality to a point where it's extremely graphic, but it's not quite really happening. That would be the equivalent of, and that would definitely go to an NC-17. Yeah, for sure.
I want to talk about the role of the critic, because you're a special kind of journalist. I mean, journalists who are out in the field, say, reporting on a war or reporting on, a business and industry conflict, they try, insofar as possible, to restrict themselves to the facts. And there's that long continuum between, here are the facts, here is opinion, here is analysis, and there are different levels of journalism. In your particular position, when you think about what's appropriate for you to say in a review about violence, you're already called upon to express your opinion. So how would this be different? What are you calling for that's different?
Well, I'm called upon to express an opinion, also called upon to express a judgment. And it's a subjective judgment, but it's an actual intellectual judgment. It's not just I didn't like it, which anybody could do. Because, there are certain movies that I generically like. And I'm like one of the few straight guys who actually likes romantic comedies, right? So I like actually my favorite kind of movie is like a romantic drama, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, I like that kind of movie. Now, I will enjoy a romantic drama that's like not so good. That's just okay, just because I like that kind of movie. But I have to also be able to step back and say, well, this is a romantic drama, and I enjoyed it, but it doesn't happen to be a particularly good one, so it's going to get... Now, it probably wind up inevitably getting rated a little bit higher than even my judgment kicking in will think, because I just happen to like it, and so I'll probably wind up giving more good reviews to romantic dramas than I will to, let's say, action movies, just because I don't really like action movies that much. But at least there has to be a judgment thing going on. The distinction that I want to make now with action movies, and I think it's a mistake that critics are making and that I have been making, is to see saying that there's a difference between saying that this movie is evil because it contains really vile sequences of horrible violence. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between just saying this is evil, this is no good, or even this is aesthetically no good. There's a difference between that and just saying, okay, we have a movie here, and this is what its message is. This is what it is saying. It is saying this very nihilistic thing. And I don't particularly like it, and you might not like it, so just so you know, this is what it's saying. And I think there's a difference between identifying the messages of a movie and what it's and identifying what a movie, forget about a message, because that's a little bit too programmatic, but what the movie is communicating, whether it's in the form of a message or not, and just identifying certain aspects of the movie and attaching a value judgment to it. It's a subtle distinction, but it's a difference. To me, it's the difference between doing something that is intellectually supportable and critically useful, and on the other hand, just being somebody who says, well, this morally offends me, and therefore it's no good. Because when you get to that point, you've become useless, because then what happens is that just a critic is just some guy or some woman who, just looks at a work of art and says, well, since I myself am the standard against which all things are to be judged, and my way of looking at reality and my way of looking at life and morality is infallible, therefore the work of art is good only to the extent that it comports with this infallible being, which is me. And that's just the wrong way of looking at things. And we know that because when we see other people doing it, we know that they're ridiculous.
I'm talking to Mick LaSalle. He's with the San Francisco Chronicle, also the author of several books on the cinema, and we're talking about violence in the movies. He's written a very provocative column about that. You can find it on sfgate.com. We're also linking directly to it at our website, indeepradio.com. Can we make a distinction here, Mick? And I thought of our upcoming conversation today when I was driving into work, and I saw a billboard for the latest Tom Cruise movie, and it said, Jack Reacher, if he's coming for you, you deserve it. And that, to me, had overtones of glorification. We talk about the glorification of violence. And here's something that has obviously implications of violence coming and the moral judgment behind it. You have this coming to you, and here's this hero who's going to assert this violence upon you. Is that the kind of thing you would like to see given a stricter rating, or for more of the critics to be willing to call that out?
I would like to see, well, first of all, Jack Reacher to me is far more distressing than Django Unchained, because Jack Reacher presents somebody just like a lunatic shooting at people, random people, and presents it from the standpoint of the assassin and invites basically the audience to appreciate the power of the assassin rather than, in the case of like Django, a person who's been very wronged by people who are very powerful and dangerous. And so that the conflict is kind of morally clear. Something like Jack Reacher, which is puts you into the head of the assassin, is kind of a sick experience. And also, in fact, they even put crosshairs through the gun sight of a rifle on like a 4 or 5-year-old girl. This somehow is a PG-13 movie. So what I would like to see is I would like to see any violent film, any film that contains any violence at all, gun, shooting, stabbing, raping, severe beating, bombing. I would just automatically have that trigger an R rating. It's not going to affect Quentin Tarantino. It's not going to affect Martin Scorsese. Their films are rated R anyway, but it will affect these blockbusters that come out during the summer, things like Dark Knight Rises, that are extremely violent, extremely nihilistic, and yet at the same time pitched for an audience, essentially an audience of kids. I mean, the 13 attached to the PG is completely meaningless. A kid can just walk in and buy a ticket. And the reason why I, by the way, apply the violence standard arbitrarily, where I'd say any violence triggers an R rating, is because I don't trust the MPAA to exert any kind of judgment. I don't trust them to exert an artistic judgment, because I don't think they have any sense. But also, I know that if you leave them any wiggle room, they're going to be subject to influence. See, they're able to count F words and say if you have 2, it's an R rating.
Right.
They know how to do that. And so if they have a hard and fast rule, they can do it, and it's easy for them. But if you say some violence is okay, some violence isn't okay, you draw the line. What's just going to happen is, if it's a really, really, really high-budget movie that is counting on a PG-13, they will give in to studio pressure every time, every single time.
But that can be carried to an extreme, can't it? I mean, you have the cartoons that have been cut up because, Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner are going at it too heavily. I mean, this is one of those things that can tip over into the ridiculous if you're not careful.
Well, yeah, Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner, you can make some kind of exception maybe for animated films, but just in any live-action film depiction of a violent act automatically gets an R, and see what happens. Just see what happens. I mean, it's...
You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
Hi, Grandpa. I'm calling from my new phone that I got for Christmas. It's an iPhone. I love you, and you're the first person I called. I love you. Bye.
Hey, Rock, it's Vince Gray calling. Listen, I wanted to congratulate you, first of all, on your new show. Secondly, I want to welcome you back to the city. You've been gone too long. We're absolutely delighted to have you back in our nation's capital. And thirdly, I want to wish you a happy birthday. I know, Rock, that this show is going to be very successful. There are people that are talking about it all over town. And we absolutely wish you the best. I looked at the lineup of folks that you're going to have or having on the show, on Saturday, and what a great lineup. And certainly is a testament to the impact that you've made not only in the city, but the impact you've made on our country. The enormous respect that you have in this city and across this nation. So I wish I could be there with you today, and I hope that I have an opportunity to come on the show at the earliest opportunity. I wish I were there for the launching of it, because there'll never be a first time again. So once again, congratulations. Welcome back to your hometown. Happy birthday. And I know it'll be an absolutely great show today. Talk to you soon.
He's cared for the famine victims in Somalia. Bought back 3,000 guns to confront violence in D.C.
Something about what God is using him to do with us.
We will rock you. Rock with you. I want to rock right now. Rock steady, baby.
Registered numerous people to vote. It's evident that he cares. What do you care about? Welcome to the Rock Newman Show. It's the Rock Newman Show. Rock Newman Show.
Good morning, world, and hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Brotman. People refer to me as the president's announcer. Now, I've had the honor and the glory to have introduced 11 different presidents of the United States during 16 presidential inaugural parades from 1949 through 2013. That's a total of 64 years. Now, I've introduced Presidents Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Carter, Reagan, Bush, and Bill Clinton, and then George W. Bush, and I've also introduced 2 times Barack Obama. Now, I've introduced superstars, I've introduced sports stars and movie stars, I've introduced some of the most important personalities in the world, but today is special. I have the respect, the dignity, literally the exaltation of introducing a very special individual. Now, he's a famous person, he's a genuine superstar, he's the idol of millions, and he's definitely a VIP, a sex symbol, a notable celebrity. Yes, I've had the honor and pleasure of introducing presidents of the United States, but today I'm going higher than I've ever gone before. God. Higher than the president? Yes. To many of us, this man is a king. Introducing the King of Washington, D.C. He's back in town. He's back on radio in the nation's capital. And on behalf of your millions of friends and followers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome home, Rock Newman.
Charlie, thank you very much. And I know that this is the beginning, but after that introduction, I'm going to say, da-da-da-da-da-da. That's all, folks. That is the end, man. It can never get better than that. It can never get better than that. So I was told a long time ago, quit while you're ahead. I know that I'm ahead right now. So everybody, this is a wrap. We can shut it all down. Charlie, again, man, thank you so very much. Thank you to you for that. That's the creme de la creme. You know, a little later in the show, we're going to have Pete Rose, and I talk about you can only have one number one in any particular category, and I can sure enough say that in my lifetime, that was the number one introduction of all time.
You're deserving.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Thank you. So before I forget, let me first thank the first voice that you heard. And that first little charming, sweet, wonderful voice was my granddaughter, Mia Lewis. She's such a darling, and through the years, I've saved her voice messages, and man, have they come to use. So thank you, baby. And to Vince Gray, the mayor of this city, who came in some very, very tough times, and who I think has done a really, really, really outstanding job. And there is a chorus of voices across the region, certainly in the city, that says that the work that he has done in these tough times deserves 4 more years. I want to say in advance, give my listening audience a glimpse at our lineup today. We wanted to have a really exciting show for you. And, of course, my full-hour studio guest is Charlie Brotman. Charlie Brotman is nothing short of a genius. He's a political guru. He's a counselor to many. He has been in this city. I'm gonna tell one of Charlie's secrets. He's 85 years old, and he gets up in the morning and he does a couple of 100 push-ups and a couple of 100 sit-ups. I just hugged him when he came through the front door, and there's no body fat at 85 years old, and I don't like him anymore. I want to be like you when I grew up, Charlie. So Charlie's in the studio. James Brown. James Brown, the CBS sports announcer, and much, much more that I'll talk about, but went to DeMatha High School here in the area and has gone on to be one of the most notable broadcasters in broadcasting history. Darrell Ledbetter was recently elected to the Pro Football Writers Hall of Fame. Johnny Holliday, who needs no introduction to the DMV, is going to be with us, and also we're going to have, if we have the time in this first hour, someone who influenced me so much from afar was Muhammad Ali.
Oh, my.
And one of the people that was in his innermost circle was his kind of go-to guy for whatever he wanted was a guy by the name of Gene Kilroy. And I'll run down through the second hour. We've got Dick Gregory and Brig Owens. We've got Ed Weinberger, the incredible producer. He's going to be calling from Los Angeles. He did Taxi. He did The Cosby Show. He did all of, he's just a premier producer out in Hollywood. And speaking of premiers, Premier Ewart Brown from Bermuda is going to be joining us. And next up will be Kenny Williams, who is a former professional baseball player, now executive vice president for the Chicago White Sox, and everybody's favorite, Judge Mathis. Judge Greg Mathis, who you can see every day, sitting on the bench. He'll be joining us. And in the 11 o'clock hour, we really will have some each of the former mayors of Washington, D.C. And if Vince Gray's plane lands on time at 11:30 in Florida, where he's going to go down and be at the Nationals training camp,
yes.
If his plane lands in time, he'll be calling back in to join Sharon Pratt Kelly, Marion Barry, Tony Williams. Agent Fenty didn't come. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. We're also going to have Prince George's County Executive Wayne Curry. He's coming over. And as I said in that first hour, also is going to be Pete Rose and Angela Alsobrooks, State's Attorney for Prince George's County, is going to come by. Rushern Baker. Yeah, I said Rushern Baker. Boy, I need all the help I can get. So, Charlie Brotman, you are my first guest, and the primary reason is Charlie Brotman, who I've known for, I can't count, 1980, so 33 years, 34, 35. For 35 years is one of the nicest human beings I've ever met, in addition to all the great things that he's done as a professional. Charlie, welcome to the show.
And he's cute, too.
Charlie is quite cute. Charlie, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
You know, one thing that's impressive to me is that people only want to be with you when you're successful. It's one of these things where you are like a magnet. You attract these famous world stars. You're running down mayors, and you're running down Hollywood celebrities, and you got people that are going to be on your show that would never be on anybody else's show. And if I were to call these people, they would say, "You're Charlie who?" And now it's Rock Newman. I'll be there. I'll do it.
Enough about this big-head guy named Rock Newman. Let's talk about Charlie Brotman. Charlie, you started announcing presidents in 1949 with Harry Truman.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Let's just jump right into this.
Yes.
What is the single most memorable moment during that 64-year history of introducing every president at the inaugural parade since Harry Truman?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a native Washingtonian.
Yes.
Went to McKinley Tech High School, played basketball and football. So I'm a neighborhood guy. Mm-hmm. When I got into announcing, it was because I thought maybe this would be a way for me to get to watch sports without having to buy a ticket.
So there was a method behind your methods.
So finally, I did start with all of these announcing. Charlie, how did you get started? I was the announcer at Griffith Stadium for the Washington Senators in 1956, and I'm introducing the president, throwing out that ceremonial first pitch. Eisenhower threw out the first pitch. And I greeted him, gave him the ball, and we became like 5-minute pals. The season was over.
Charlie,
it's in November.
Hold on 1 second. You're talking about baseball. You're talking about the Washington Senators.
Yes.
And we got lucky.
Yes.
And got an interview with Pete Rose.
Oh, my heavens.
And while we're talking about baseball, before we go further down that road,
yes.
Is Charlie Hustle in the house? It's a minute before Charlie Hustle gets in the house. Okay, you got to finish that story.
So I, in fact, had introduced him, and now 6 months later, season's over, I get a call from a woman who says, I'm calling from the White House. Are you Charlie Brotman, who introduced the president throwing out the first ball? Yes, ma'am. Well, you must have impressed him, because he wants to know if you are available to introduce him again. And I said, by all means, it's an honor. Just tell me where and when. Well, the where is on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. The when is January 20th, 1957. And I said, I'm a local yokel here. I know that's the inaugural parade. And she said, that's right, Mr. Brotman, you'll be the president's announcer.
And the rest is history.
History.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Pete Rose is in the house, I understand.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Rock Newman. Happy birthday to you.
Pete Rose got skills. Pete Rose got skills. Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much, man. I happen to have on the line right now that has more hits than anyone that ever played the game of professional baseball. You know, there's only one number one in every category. And this gentleman is number one with more hits than anyone that ever played the game of professional baseball. It's a real treat and an honor for me to be able to talk to you and introduce you to our guest here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan region. Pete Rose, welcome aboard.
Rock, it's always a pleasure to hear your voice.
Something happened that, as a baseball fan, and as a fan of your incredible, on the field talent between the lines, I'm frankly upset about. And that is this Topps controversy, where the Topps card people have all of a sudden deemed it their moral authority, or what the hell ever it is, that they're going to delete your record or some kind of way diminish your on-the-field exploits.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it either, but I guess what you're saying is just go ahead and take everything away I did. I mean, I didn't get those hits, or I didn't hit them at doubles, or score those runs, or win all those games, or make all those outs. Someone else must have did that. But I don't know if that was Topps or it was baseball or it was both. But it seems like they're being suspended 24 years. Now you decide to do a card with different guys' names on the back based on their records. What are they doing for the home run record? Are they putting Barry Bonds at the top of the card for a home run record?
Right.
They are? Is that true? There's a lot of people that think I should never get a second chance, and that's fine, because I screwed up, Rock. I did the bad thing. But there's other people to say enough is enough, and I've been suspended 24 years, and I'm a good citizen now, and I'm a big baseball fan. I sign autographs 20 days a month, 4.5 hours a day, Rock, and all I do is talk positive about the game of baseball. Right. And as you know from being on the radio, all sports are kind of easy to get on today. There's a lot of stuff going on that didn't go on when we were young playing the game, and it's very easy to attack these different sports today because of the things that are happening. But I'm not like that. I love the game. I love basketball. I love football. I love boxing. I love all sports, and I'm just not a negative type person.
Is there one particular at-bat that you had that just stands out above all the rest?
Well, I had 14,000 of them. But I think the one that probably meant the most at the time was the at-bat I had in the 1980 playoffs against Houston with the Phillies. and we needed to get a base runner, and I had a real tough at bat and eked out a walk against Nolan Ryan.
Yeah,
because he was really a competitive guy, and as you know, I was a very competitive guy, and I actually got a walk on him. And then we went on to win that game by 1 run. We needed to get a base runner because it was the 8th or 9th inning. But then there again, Rock, every player remembers his first at bat.
Yeah.
My first at bat, I was so nervous. I walked on 4 straight pitches against Pittsburgh's Earl Francis in Crosby Field in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Or I remember the Game 7 of the World Series in '75 when we're down a run and I got a base hit off of Roger Moret to tie the game, and then Joe Morgan got a little base hit the next guy to go ahead and win that World Series. So there's a lot of at bats that you remember. I remember my last at bat. It was off of Minton from San Francisco. And that was interesting at bat, Rock, because that hit gave me 5 for 5, which broke Ty Cobb's record of 9 5-for-5 games. And the last game I started, I got 5 hits and broke 14 records.
Man, oh man, oh man! Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, I bet the world was surprised to hear you say that one of your favorite, perhaps your favorite at bat, was when you got a walk. Now. Yeah. It takes some baseball nuance and understanding to understand why that could be so important, and also an appreciation for that monster that you were facing named Nolan Ryan.
Yeah. Well, it was a circumstance, Rock. I mean, it was a circumstance, and you're trying to win, and you got to remember when we won the World Series in 1980 for the Philadelphia people, they had waited 86 years. That's a long-ass time. I mean, Rock, there was a lady, this is a true story, there was a lady there today from Iowa. She had her 115th birthday. God bless her. And she was in the 6th grade when the Cubs won the World Series.
Wow. Wow.
Now, here's a lady that lived 3 centuries. It was in the 6th grade the last time the Cubs won the World Series. So you're talking about a drought.
Yeah.
That is a drought.
Oh, my God. There's one rally that happened in your professional career. Is there a rally, you're behind and it's impossible, but you kind of come back and,
Yeah, well, we had a couple rallies when we played in Chicago because they got 9 in the first. They got 9 runs in the first.
Yeah.
And, we got 9 in the first, and they got 10. And we ended up winning the game 23-22.
Who was pitching for both teams? That 115-year-old lady?
I don't know if she was at the game.
Hey, let me, Pete, other than yourself, who was the best all-around player that you played the game against?
Well, I'm not even in these guys' category, Rock. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 names that I played against most of my career. Mays, what a player he was.
Yeah.
Aaron, what a player he was. Musial, who we just lost 3 weeks ago, what a player he was. Clemente, what a player he was.
Roberto Clemente, yes.
Take your pick. Now, if you're going to ask me who was the greatest baseball player that I ever played with, I'm going to tell you Mike Schmidt, okay? But in my eyes, the greatest baseball player ever to play, I just named you 5 really good ones, was Babe Ruth. Because Babe Ruth did something that I don't think anybody else could do, Rock. Babe Ruth saved the game with his presence in this town or that town.
Yeah.
Because every time he'd come to town, they'd sell out and enable those teams to grow. Rock, 100 years from now, people aren't going to remember Rock Newman or Pete Rose, but they're going to know about Babe Ruth.
The Bambino. Let me ask you this. As you are remembered, as we wrap this up, Pete, you are, how does Pete Rose want to be remembered from having played the game and lived in this life?
It's a good question. I would like to remember, and I have this record, okay? And the record is I played in 1,972 winning games. That makes me the biggest winner in the history of sports because, you've been in the corner many times. You've been in the baseball field. Why do you play the game? Why do you box the match? To win. And I would just like people to say, here lies the biggest winner in the history of sports because that's all I played for was to win.
Pete, you gracing us and coming on here today, man, it helps us to be a winner. And in my book, I would certainly be one of the first ones to say that any of us without sin cast the first stone. Any of us that's got a halo, you better remove it because it'll fall around your neck. We're all imperfect. You obviously have talked about, what your transgressions have been, but you've maintained your manhood and your dignity. I have an awful lot of respect for that, Pete, and I really appreciate you coming on with us. I just again want to so much thank Pete Rose. I talked about Pete Rose being number one in his category, and we don't get to do radio unless we have advertisers and sponsors. And I'm going to talk about a company right now that is number one in its category, and that's auto sales, and that's Pohanka. That's Pohanka. I want to specifically talk first about Pohanka Lexus. They are the number one new car volume Lexus dealership in the Eastern area and one of the top volume new and pre-owned Lexus dealerships in the United States. I want to say to you, if you have an interest in getting a new car, if you want a Lexus, a Lexus car, a Lexus automobile is the smart person's car to drive. Now, I'm not saying it just because I'm driving a Lexus and it's sitting right out front. I'm just saying if you, instead of going and spending that BMW money or that Mercedes money, you'll get a lot more bang for your buck with a Lexus at Pohanka Lexus in Chantilly. Contact General Manager Gary Whipke or Sales Manager Scott Brewer at 703-968-9100. These are people that I know extraordinarily well, and I give them 100% my endorsement.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
Good God! I got to ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
I'm Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. Last year, my state became the 12th state to allow medical use of marijuana by patients who are seriously ill. Some people were surprised that a Republican governor supports medical marijuana, but I'm hardly alone. Groups like the American College of Physicians, American Nurses Association, and American Public Health Association have all acknowledged the medical value of marijuana. New research about medical marijuana is coming out almost every day, showing remarkable potential in all sorts of serious conditions, including cancer, AIDS, and chronic pain. But some in government still want to put politics and ideology ahead of public health. To learn more about medical marijuana and what you can do to help, contact the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org. Thanks.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at WEAC Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast DC.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Hi, this is Mia. I can't wait until me going to DC and some couple of days away. I love you and I miss you so much. I can't wait. Bye. Love you.
I got a big old smile on my face for more than one reason, Charlie. I understand that we have James Brown on the line, but before we go to James, just quickly, Charlie, we were trying to find out from you, in your 64 years of introducing every president since Truman through Obama, what's your single most memorable moment?
I think it had to be during the term of George W. Bush in 2005. In Washington, we had not had professional baseball for 33 years. 2005 is when baseball actually returned to Washington. Here I am at the microphone, and I'm introducing the president, and he's right below me, and it had stopped. There was no action, and I felt responsible to keep it moving. So I basically said, Mr. President, here in Washington, it's traditional for the president to throw out the first ball at the baseball game. Washington now has a real honest-to-goodness Major League Baseball team in town again. And will you be throwing out the first ball? We hope so. Does your schedule allow? And he shrugged a little bit, not knowing what his schedule was going to be. And about 30 seconds later, here comes this Secret Service guy, about 6'4", and he looks at me, nose to nose, and says, "Are you the announcer?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Well, I'm Secret Service for the president, and don't you dare ever ask any more questions. Don't make an announcement directed to the president. You just make your announcements in a general fashion. Do you understand me?" And I said, "Yes, sir. I believe I understand you." So there's no more announcements back and forth, no conversations with the president. But I did remember that situation.
You see, you learned.
I learned.
You learned that lesson. Charlie, let me again. I don't think I'd be doing my job if I didn't ask this. Barack Obama obviously made history.
Yes.
As the first African-American president.
Correct.
And there was such a palpable feeling of gratitude, of joy, of pride in the African-American community.
All the above, absolutely.
As a Caucasian who's been involved.
Yes.
How did you feel seeing that history-making moment?
I was so happy that a barrier has been broken. We're all competitive people. Everybody wants to be a winner. I thought for the United States, we had just won a game. It was just something that hadn't been done, should have been done, and it was being accomplished. And personally, I was part of that in a very minor way, but it'll be something that I'll always remember. And one of the things in the past, an inaugural parade like Reagan or Kennedy, it's an extension of their personality. It becomes really great. Obama is kind of a little less, he's more low-key, if you will, and he is giving a lot of schools, high schools, grade schools, colleges, opportunities for their groups to be in the parade that they have never been in any parade before. Yeah. It's a wonderful feeling, And I think everybody feels that way.
Okay. I am going to call for a parade for our next guest.
Yes.
You know, with big drums and blaring bands.
I hear you.
And all the rest. Because we have a gentleman on the line who, you know, he ain't on the good foot. That's one thing I can say. He don't know how to get on the good foot. But he stands on a pedestal. And his name is James Brown.
He's my hero, too.
You know, you guys know what he does with CBS and the whole bit. But look here, I've got to just share this with you that his added responsibilities as of late is a special correspondent at CBS News, including reporting for 60 Minutes and 60 Minutes Sports. He's hosting on Showtime, hosting inside the NFL, co-founder of Brown Technology, a minority-owned information technology company, ordained minister, and doing work with the AARP as national ambassador for the community, and Verizon Corporation working on domestic violence awareness and prevention, and a minority owner of the Washington National Baseball team.
Are you talking about 10 different people?
I'm talking about one guy. He's got so many jobs. I asked him this morning, was he of Jamaican heritage? James Brown, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Hey, first of all, Rock, and as I replied back to you, if that appropriate analogy applies for me, it does for you and Charlie Brotman, because I don't know either of you doing just one thing. You guys, and what an outstanding pleasure to be on here with Charlie Brotman. I mean, Rock, it really does speak to how you are so broad-based in terms of recognizing people of good character and integrity and who are doing good things across the board. And we know that Charlie Brotman is a national resource. But, Rock, I'm only, as I said before, trying to follow in your footsteps. Pockets not as deep, Charlie Brotman, as Rock Newman, but we're trying to get there. And then finally, he knows how to make everybody melt. When I heard, I believe her name was Mia, the young lady who had the intro to this segment. Man, who wouldn't smile hearing a beautiful young lady like that welcome Rock to the program?
Charlie, James, that's one of my beautiful granddaughters.
I love it.
JB, you do so many things. Let's focus for a moment here. Obviously, you cover the NFL. I have coming up later in the hour. Darrell Ledbetter, who was just elected to be the president of the NFL Sports Writers Association.
Wonderful honor.
And I want to ask you about the hometown team. I'm not going to today get into the issue of the name. Folks have seen my Facebook posts and know how I feel about that. I have strong feelings about it, but that's not going to be the issue today. What I'd like to ask you to share with our audience would be your observation of the growth of the team, what you think the immediate and long-term future might be.
Wow, good question, Rock. And by the way, if I'm not here when you welcome Mr. Ledbetter on, please give him my congratulations as well. A very high honor, and I'm certainly well-deserved indeed. Hey, in terms of the Redskins, Rock, look, I'm a native Washingtonian, and like most others, even though I always tease that there are, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, said there are more Dallas Cowboy fans per capita in Washington, D.C. than any other place around the country. Isn't that amazing? And I know when I was over at First Baptist of Glen Arden, Pastor John Jenkins had me get up just to say something to the congregation, and I said the first thing I wanted him to do was to conduct a healing service for all the Cowboy fans around. So he said he's got to be neutral, of course. But in terms of the Redskins specifically, look, they have grown and matured. John Madden once told me before, he says ownership of any given professional team is the only position in football where you don't have to have been an intimate part of the football community for a long time. And I think that Dan Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, has really grown as an owner to understand that what you do is you hire the best people, you delegate responsibilities to them like you would do in corporate America, and let them run the team, and you review them at the end of the season to make certain that you're moving towards the goals and objectives. And I think he has matured, and as such, the team has. I think what he has built now to this point has been a very nice squad. Look, this year, I was very surprised with the success of the team. Give an awful lot of credit, while clearly the marquee name has been RG3, Robert Griffin III, London Fletcher on the defensive side. Rock, I've always believed that any team that's going to be successful has to have the proper mix of outstanding youngsters and some veterans who understand what it takes to be professional and lead by example. And London Fletcher has been that example. RG3 is a young man wise beyond his years in terms of coming in with immense talent, but also showing the kind of work ethic and team orientation that has carried this team to the next level. I just pray he will be successful in his rehab and coming back from such a serious knee injury.
JB, you are an inspiration and a really great example for kids throughout this country and around the world. Who, aside from your immediate family, your parents, who was your inspiration and why?
Wow. You know what, and I'm glad you said aside from my parents, because my mother and father, both who've gone home to be with the Lord, you know, they were, and they provided the foundation, period. Everything started there. That was the rock-solid foundation. Look, there have been a few people who've had tremendous impact on me, starting first with my middle school coach, Don Fugel, at Bacchus Junior High School. Clearly, Morgan Wooten has had a tremendous influence on me, my high school basketball coach at DeMatha High School. And there were others along the way as well, too. But in terms of influencing me in the most important way, I call them accountability partners, people who, you know, walk the walk and walk the talk. Tony Dungy, the former coach of both the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and, of course, Super Bowl-winning Indianapolis Colts, is a very close friend, Rock. And he has been a tremendous influence, a man who is as transparent as they come. And look, you played baseball. You know it all too well. You enjoyed the highest of heights in boxing, representing talent that included Riddick Bowe, and also in basketball with Steve Francis. You've had such a strong influence on so many people in the sports arena and well beyond. I don't know if people understand the full breadth and scope of all the things that you've been doing well outside of that, including in running countries and politics and the like. No, I mean that lovingly, too. I mean, I found that out when I was down in the islands. You know, Rock's got a real strong hand outside, as a strong influence outside. But, you know, to me, people who walk the walk and walk the talk, and Tony has been that way. And unlike the stereotypical notion of a coach who has to engage in profanity-laced tirade to try to exhort a player to higher heights and better performance, Morgan Wooten and Tony Dungy are cut from the same mold. Warren Sapp, just now about to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, said the thing about Coach Dungy, whenever they got together for film sessions, he said he would hate it if he made some mistakes in a game, and in that film session, Coach would stop the tape, point to him, and then just look at him and say, "What were you thinking?" He says that was the most embarrassing question to be asked. What were you thinking? Yeah. Tony did it by just exhorting the best out of people, and he started with each team saying, hey, if we're champions on the field only and not in the game of life, then we really haven't accomplished anything. And I think that speaks volumes for the kind of guy he is.
JB, we could talk all day long, but if we did, my show would get canceled because I wouldn't have any sponsors.
Hey, look here, I get that loud and clear. Hey, Rock, but that's what you get when you start me early in the morning, you know. Hey, but you and Charlie continue to have a great dialogue there, and please tell Brother Ledbetter congratulations on his honor, too.
I absolutely will. JB, thank you so very much, man. Love you much.
Okay, and also your producer, Ron Harris. Thank you, man. God bless you.
Be well.
Okay, bye-bye.
The Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell, let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts, here's what's going on, here's what the facts say, here's what history says, here are the lessons we know we have learned. and let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell, you let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, but we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on The Rock Newman Show.
Hi, this is Mia. I just remembered that tomorrow I don't have any school, so I was wondering if we can hang out. But if you have plans, that's okay. Bye. Love you.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. And as I told James Brown, we wouldn't be doing this radio show if we didn't have advertisers and didn't have sponsors. And I have a really special affinity for the name Pohanka and for the organization Pohanka. Let me share with you all that the Pohanka family has been in my life, and I've been a part of the Pohanka family since I left Howard University in 1974. It was my first sort of real job. So when I talk about this company and I talk about the various dealerships, I'm not talking about something because somebody is writing a check. I'm talking about a personal experience that has been meaningful, that has been helpful. The patriarch of that company, Jack Pohanka, treated me like a son when I came out of college. He guided me along the way. One of my friends is like a big brother. His name is Scott Crabtree, is an integral part of that ownership structure. And so when I talk to you about getting a car, it's with real personal experience to know that you're going to be treated in a very special way. And this particular dealership, they have many, is that I want to talk about now, is the Pohanka Chevrolet. It's in Chantilly. It's one of the top Chevrolet dealerships in the area. Let me focus you on something. They are open 7 days a week for service, from 7 o'clock in the morning from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and you never need an appointment. You just go in, get treated well, and get your service. Any of your automotive needs, Pohanka can satisfy them. Now, talking about satisfying leads me immediately to the voice that you're going to hear next. A friend of many, many years, a man of many, many, many voices and talents, the one and only Johnny Holliday.
I'm on my way out to Pohanka right now to get a car.
That's what you need to do. And tell them Rock Newman sent you, Johnny.
Yeah, man alive. You know, that's a sell job. That's one of the best sell jobs I've heard. You're taking over my territory, man.
Hey, Johnny, I happen to be sitting in the in the studio with Charlie Brotman. You might want to say hello.
I'm sorry to hear that, Rock. I really am. Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me? Mr.
Is this the real Johnny Holliday or a stand-in?
This is his stand-in. Yeah, the real one.
I thought so.
Doesn't have time to talk to you. How are you, Charlie?
Oh, a shade above spectacular, thank you.
You Geez, first of all, Rock, how did you ever get him to be with you there? Because he comes at a high price.
You know, it's a lot of pretty girls in the studio.
Well, that answers the question right there.
Johnny Holliday, people have seen you and heard you for years in the metropolitan area. They don't know the full backstory of Johnny Holliday. Johnny Holliday, tell us how you got your start in radio and where you got your start.
Rock, we talk about Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in baseball. I kind of broke the color barrier in broadcasting because the only people that would give me the time of day was some good buddies at an African-American station in Miami that I walked into at age, I think I was 17 or 18 with no experience. I had a little tape with me. Nobody else would let me in the front door except at that time it was a R&B all-black station, and I went in there, and these guys that owned the station opened their arms to me. They listened to the tape. They said, "Hey, how old are you?" And I said, "Hi, T," or something like that. And they said, "Are you willing to relocate?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We just bought a station in Rochester, New York. We're going to take over in July. In the meantime, we'll put you on here a couple of hours a day to kind of get you some more experience." So I was on from noon to 2, in between TJ the DJ and King Coleman and Rocky G, and I was the only Caucasian on that all-African-American station. And if they don't give me the shot, then I never have a chance to move on to Cleveland and Rochester and New York City and San Francisco, then come here 43 years ago.
Wow, you busted the block. You busted the block, Johnny.
I am your brother from another mother, you know. You used that one night.
That is correct. That is correct. Hey, Johnny. One of the most impactful events, as much as I'm looking for today's show to really be an upbeat show, we're starting, we're launching. But again, I don't think I'd be doing my job if I didn't address this because I know you were close to the situation. One of the most impactful events in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. sports world, and perhaps nationwide also, happened many years ago when the Boston Celtics
1986.
Drafted in 1986 Len Bias. Yep. And very shortly after they drafted him as the #1 pick, he was dead. Take us back there.
Well, you know, Rock, there's so many tragedies then and today that you get sick and tired of watching the news because it's nothing but bad news. And everybody was so shocked at what happened with Lenny. I could not believe it. I was halfway to Leland Memorial Hospital. Somebody had called me and said that I was on another station at the time in the morning, and they said that they brought Len Bias in with what appeared to be a heart attack. And my first thought was, a young guy like that doesn't have a heart attack. He's just in too good a shape. And I got halfway to the hospital, and on the car radio, the guy calls me and says, "Go to Mayoral, and Len Bias has passed away." And, well, after gathering myself, which was very difficult, and crying like a baby at the loss of a young kid that I had seen when he signed at Northwestern high school to come to Maryland, seeing him progress with interviews, seeing him progress with his talent, seeing him progress as just a human being. It was one of the worst days of my life, and it shook up Maryland, it shook up everybody, and it took the University of Maryland a lot of years to recover from that tragedy. I remember Lenny as a guy with a tremendous smile. Every time he went head-to-head with Michael Jordan, you know who won the battle? Not Jordan, it was Len Bias. And the biggest honor I could have ever received, and I still consider it, probably the most impressive honor, was his mom asked me if I would sing at Lenny's funeral, which I did. Now, doing theater is one thing, but going to sing at somebody's funeral, I've done too many of those. It was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do. And after I finished with the Lord's Prayer, they were walking down the aisle behind Lenny's casket, and his mom throws a kiss to me upstairs, and that's all I needed. I was in the chapel in the balcony singing. But he would have saved the Celtics. He would have been just an absolutely phenomenal NBA player.
Hey,
he is as big. He's probably, well, I mean, his death, at least I'm hoping that kids got the message, do not mess around with drugs. This is what can happen no matter how big you are, how small you are. If the numbers don't come up right, then you're going to be in trouble.
Hey.
Stay away from them. And that's the message I hope they got out of the death of Len Bias.
Johnny, I will say to you, like I said to James Brown, man, we absolutely could talk all day. I love you much. We've got a break here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, and listen, I'm glad that Charlie's there. Have you seen Charlie's basement by any chance? The memorabilia he has?
No, I have not. I have heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
Well, before I go, let me just tell you one quick thing. When I got the tour of it, it was only $75 a head. Now, that's 20 years ago. I don't know what he's charging now, but you got to go by his house sometime. He'll waive the fee for you. Take a look at what he's got in his home. You will be absolutely blown away.
It used to be $75, but it's going to a $1 25 for you.
See you later, Johnny.
Thank you, Rock. Thanks, Charlie.
Okay.
Right, bye-bye.
We're going to go to break and come right back to Rock Through the Rock Newman Show.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
Good God, I got to ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
Hey, it's your boy Richard Fowler. When I took this journey to start the Richard Fowler Show, I understand that it was bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us, you see. The only way we can truly create change in this country and to the world is by informing ourselves, empowering ourselves, and understanding how important our voices are to the power structure in this country. That's why we did it. That's why we created the Richard Fowler Show. This is our time. This is our opportunity. And most importantly, this is our movement. So join us every Friday night from 8 to 10 when we tackle the big questions of the day, when we talk about the real issues, when we get rid of the talking points, the talking heads, and the smoking guns, and we talk about how these issues really affect you. We can't wait for you to join our movement every Friday nights from 8 to 10, only on We Act Radio.
Hi, my name is Mark Levine. I host the Inside Scoop on Washington every Sunday from noon to 3 p.m. on We Act Radio. I've been hosting the Inside Scoop since 2003 when I quit my job as a congressional attorney. I began on a suburban radio station in Northern Virginia. Since then, I've been syndicated nationwide. I've been on XM Sirius Radio. I regularly appear on the Bill O'Reilly Show, and I take down Sean Hannity. He says I give him a headache. So I don't just take apart the right wing. I bring them on my show. I give the debates that you want to hear when you argue with your colleagues, you know, at the water cooler, at the family dinner table, those benighted conservatives that, let's face it, we all have as our family and friends. So check out the Inside Scoop. We deal with everything: economics, law, politics. Sometimes we even have Nancy Skinner on and she makes me talk about Kim Kardashian. But I don't like that. So we have a well-balanced meal of radio for you. Check out the Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Mark Levine, every Sunday, noon to 3 p.m., right here on We Act Radio.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Hi, Grandpa. We're in Kingman. I love you. Tomorrow I'm off school on Monday. I love you. Happy New Year.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. We're going to wrap this hour up here with Charlie Brotman, but just before we do, one of my favorites, I've always said, I think pound for pound, the greatest car in the automotive industry is a Honda. And you get the best deals and the best service in the whole wide world at Pohanka Honda of Fredericksburg. Johnny Holliday just said that this was one of the best endorsements that he had heard. Well, I'm telling you, if it is, it's because it is absolutely from the heart. Why pick Honda? It's the price, and they give you the most wonderful service in the world, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you want an automobile, if you want a Honda, pound for pound the best, tell them at Pohanka Honda of Fredericksburg that Rock Newman sent you. Charlie Brotman.
Hello, Rock.
What a wonderful experience it has been to spend this time with you. So look, so that we can all be envious, so us 60-year-olds can all be envious of your 85-year-old self that I don't like anymore. Tell me about your exercise routine when you get up in the morning and what you've been doing for the last 50 years.
Well, with me, instead of going to a gym, I brought the gym to my house. So in the Brotman basement, I have like 3 or 4 different pieces of equipment, and it's for the setups, it's the push-ups, it's the walking, and for me, it works, and I enjoy doing it. It's not a labor.
How many sit-ups you do in the morning on a typical basis?
80.
How many?
I mean, it's not thousands.
How many push-ups?
60.
What size belt you wear?
32.
I hate you.
But I love you.
Okay. We are going to wrap this segment of the Rock Newman Show up. The first hour has been absolutely wonderful. And again, as it says in my promo, I got a big old smile on my face. I got a radio show. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, I did radio. I've done a lot of things since then, but nothing ever gave me what radio gave me. I'm glad to be back on the air, and I'm so honored, Charlie, to have had you as my first guest.
Rock, thank you for allowing me to be in on this inaugural occasion. This is big stuff.
And we'll be back. Thanks, man. Great.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show. You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com. Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
I'm Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. Last year, my state became the 12th state to allow medical use of marijuana by patients who are seriously ill. Some people were surprised that a Republican governor supports medical marijuana, but I'm hardly alone. Groups like the American College of Physicians, American Nurses Association, and American Public Health Association have all acknowledged the medical value of marijuana. New research about medical marijuana is coming out almost every day, showing remarkable potential in all sorts of serious conditions, including cancer, AIDS, and chronic pain. But some in government still want to put politics and ideology ahead of public health. To learn more about medical marijuana and what you can do to help, contact the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org. Thanks.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
Do you have a case of the saggy Maggies? Or those uncontrollable falling bra straps? Ooh, how annoying! Well, Bra Leaf is your solution. Bra Leaf is made of a soft elastic band, and you can adjust this length for narrow to wide bra straps. With Bra Leaf, the results are amazing. Get the lift you've always wanted. Try Bra Leaf, the premium adjustable bra clip, at braleaf.com. That's BRALIEF.com. Try it today.
Good God, I got to ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
This is Margaret Flowers.
And I'm Kevin Zeese. Join us every Monday morning at 11 a.m. for Clearing the Fog.
Speaking truth to expose the forces of greed.
Start the week with your eyes open.
The fog.
The forces of greed that spin news stories for the benefit of the 1%.
Each week we feature guests who are working to expose these truths and offer real solutions to the current crises we face.
Knowledge is power, and with knowledge you will be empowered to act to shift the power to the people.
Monday mornings at 11 a.m. on weactradio.com or 1480 AM.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Hi, Grandpa. Call me back. I love you. Bye.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show for the second hour of our inaugural show, broadcasting from the We Act Studios at 1918 Martin Luther King Avenue. Those of you in the sound of my voice, feel free to come on over. Not only are we broadcasting today, it is my birthday weekend. Tomorrow is actually my birthday, but we're celebrating it with a host of family and friends here today. I see Michelle Wright is in the house, and Roxanne Roberts from the Washington Post is in the house. Thank you so much for tuning in. And in this hour, I will tell you what guests we have coming up. As soon as I can put my other pair of eyes on, we've got Dick Gregory, the great Dick Gregory and Brig Owens in studio. We're going to have Ed Weinberger, the producer, executive producer extraordinaire, calling in from Los Angeles. We're going to have Premier Ewart Brown from Bermuda, Kenny Williams, Major League Baseball executive, vice president with the Chicago White Sox, and Judge Greg Mathis to finish out the hour. We also have sitting with me, who's on her way out of town, so we've got to get her in so she can get her move on, is someone that is currently the state's attorney for Prince George's County. Her name is Angela Alsobrooks. I want you to listen to what I have to say right now and come back a few years later and say, man, you know what? You were right. This woman is an incredibly effective, caring public servant. She is doing a phenomenal job in Prince George's County. And my prediction here today, the 23rd of February, 2013, is that Angela will rise through the political ranks in Maryland. Don't be surprised if Angela Alsobrooks becomes the President of the United States of America.
Whoa.
Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. Wow, that's quite a prediction, I tell you. Thank you, and happy birthday to you. I should have known there was a reason for this energy. Today is my birthday, and so we share a birthday weekend, and it's wonderful to be here.
Happy birthday to you. Angela, this is a sort of a fast-moving program today as we are launching the show. Something I want to ask you about is you had a summit of over 500 women in Prince George's County a few months back.
Absolutely.
It seemed to have had a profound effect, that there was an incredible turnout and just was an energy that came out of that. I'd like for you to talk about that for a moment, and also about you're looking to do a male summit, which seems to be so sorely needed in Prince George's County.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. In September, we hosted a Sisterhood Summit, is what we called it, for young women aged 13 to 18 in Prince George's County. And we did this as a result of the concerns that have grown as we watch young women who are violent toward one another. And so this summit was very well received. We had over, as you said, 500 young women who came to us. We could talk about conflict resolution. We talked about self-esteem. It was really a very powerful summit. And the thought behind it is not enough for us to simply arrest and prosecute and incarcerate our young people. We have to do much more to save our young people and to pour into them. And so in that same vein, in May 4th, we're hosting an event that we're calling it's a Brotherhood Summit. It's Calling All Brothers, and we're inviting 13 to 18-year-old men. And this time, we're going even further. We want 1,000 young men. We intend to bring 1,000 jobs and 1,000 mentors to this event. Not talking to our young people. We have to do much more than talk to them. We need genuine opportunity for our young people, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So everyone under the sound of our voice, if you have it in your heart to help a young man, we need mentors, men, to show up to mentor our young men. We need businesses who have it for 5 weeks or 4 weeks. If you can hire a young person over the summer, bring your job opportunity with you, and that's what we're doing.
This is a woman who is in the prosecutor's office. And when you generally think in terms of prosecutorial activity, you don't hear that kind of commitment and that kind of commitment and that kind of dedication to the community. Angela, you use the phrase to say prosecuting is just, it's not enough. I'd like for you to reiterate what you feel the community must do to help you make this a safer and better place.
You know, I think the goal of every person who lives in our community is to see our young people succeed. We want safe communities, we want strong families, and the way to achieve that is to mentor, to put our arms around our young people, to pour into them, to give them opportunities to succeed, help them go to school. If our children drop out of school, I promise you they will fail. And so we have to really design a way for our young people to succeed. That's the reason that there are some people we have to prosecute. Let's just be honest. Some of them we have to prosecute. But I think that the goal really ought to be to cause a decline in crime and to make sure that young people succeed.
Angela, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
joining.
for having me.
Please,
This
please
is
have
wonderful.
a safe
Thank
journey.
you. Thank
and I will
you.
cast the first vote when you announce your run for president.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sitting to my right, Angela just is leaving my left for those of you who can't see, and sitting to my right has been one of my favorite people for the last 40, for the last 43 years since I first saw him at the cellar door here in Washington, D.C. And at that time, he was talking about activities of the federal government and individuals who happened to be in the federal government that he thought were corrupt. And my naive little country boy self at the time was like, what is this fool talking about? And he said things that were borne out later on during the Nixon administration with the fiasco of Watergate. From that time, I've had mad respect for a gentleman extraordinaire, one of the most peaceful and committed human beings on the face of the planet. His name is Richard Claxton Gregory, and he is the father. He's a husband and the father of 10 or 11 children.
Unless you know something.
No, I mean it's 11 that we know about. Married to just a giant of a woman named Lil Gregory. Dick Gregory, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you, my brother, and congratulations. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations and happy birthday. And what a wonderful time to have a show like this, because the whole world is shocked and frightened, don't know what to do. Let me say two things. We thank and praise God that we've all made it here safely today, and I pray to God that your return and my return will be equally as safe. But I think there's things that happen that they won't tell you about or interpret it when it's not in the favor of white men. If you look and see what happened in South Africa, now you can be out of your mind, totally out of your mind, and someone say they shoot someone 4 times and it's an accident. Let me tell you something. If I fell down the steps and on the way down accidentally punched my wife in the face 4 times, fractured her skull, fractured her jaw, I'm going to jail. Ain't no way in the world I'm going to tell somebody that was an accident. And I think women should be upset all over the world. You had this little young girl in Pakistan. She's out demonstrating for the right for women to go to school, and they shot her in the head. And y'all gonna see, what we doing is the same thing America and white folks did during the civil rights movement. They wasn't part of the field, but they didn't do nothing to stop it. And I think when women, if you don't get outraged over that, then you in trouble. You got pimps walking down the street with little 5-year-old children for sale and all of that, and y'all sit back. Let me tell you, Hitler and the Nazis, the Romans thought they could get by with it, and they didn't. And so when you stop and think about what's going on today, and I'll make a copy and get this for you. This, no paper in America ran this. This was in the London Guardian about the Pope might go to jail this weekend. And you should be able to figure that out. I mean, here is an organization that's a multi-trillion-dollar organization. Has over 1 billion people in it. And that's like Rock coming in here after having a successful show for a year and tell the folks that put this network together, I got a problem and I'm going to be quitting in 2 weeks. That's impossible.
Right.
If you sick, you knew you was sick 8 years ago. So you saying, I'm going to give you 2 weeks to find somebody to run this multi-trillion-dollar operation with over 1 billion people. And so maybe with this here, with what's fixing to come down, it's a whole homosexual thing, it's a whole pedophile thing, it's a whole laundry money thing, and only the one paper that ran it, it's right here, is the London Guardian. of what can happen. And yet we think we live in a free democratic society. So when you stop and think about that, I've had this here, I meant to give it to you when I was, this is the document that the butler released, okay, in the Vatican. The butler goes to jail for telling the truth. He gets out in May. The Pope come and visit him in Christmas, forgave him. He's right back in the Vatican now. But,
you know, I said in an interview yesterday, a lady asked me, what did I think was the greatest problem facing children? Now, we were just joined in studio by one of the great veteran football players from the Washington team. He was on the Super Bowl team. His name is Brig Owens. And he has a programmatic approach to children's issues. But what I said was, before we get to Brig Owens, what I said was I thought that children looking at leadership in the world, on the world scene, if they see how our politicians are behaving, it is a leadership vacuum and void. And I mentioned, if they look at a Donald Trump, who's a brilliant businessman but acts like a fool, there's a leadership vacuum.
Because he is a fool.
And a void. And if you look at what I said was, you know, that sort of bastion of what is supposed to be morality and righteousness at the Vatican, there's a leadership void. So I'd like for you to speak just briefly on, you know, yes, there is a leadership void, Greg. As I launch this show today, I'm looking, you know, I'm looking for a future that is bright. So with that kind of leadership void, what's Dick Gregory's message to the parents of the youth who are at such peril and to those youth who is at peril themselves?
Well, they don't qualify to deal with it. Okay, we sit around and play games. First, the first thing, especially African Americans need to do, is straighten up one thing. We don't live in a community. Okay? A community is where you control your cops, you control your banking and finance, you control your business, you control your health education, you control all of it. We live in a neighborhood, and a hood is something you put over your head when you're trying to hide something. You know? When we sit around here and a cop can shoot you in the back 40 times and nothing happens, huh? When you get a little black girl that came here for the inauguration from Chicago, and she gets shot dead and they make arrest in 2 days, they don't care nothing, and we don't care nothing about black folks when we let them say, oh, she went to Washington, D.C. The president didn't even know she was here. She came here with one of 100 and some bands, okay? And then she gets shot, and the story goes all over the world about this black child. They killed 40 people one weekend last year in Chicago. We didn't know the name of none of them. They're just giving you a number. And so there's something have to change. Let me just read this to you and let me shut up. This never ran in an American paper. Now, those of you that have children, I want you to hear this, and then you know why you don't qualify, okay? Crime is linked to pollution, so y'all can go put all your stuff together, have all the meetings you want. Crime. Polluted water can cause brain damage that turns ordinary people into violent criminals, okay? This is not something to say. See, what we got to do is stop picking this crap up off the street and taking emotions. We're talking about scientific stuff now. You know how many thousands of people got off death row because of DNA? DNA wasn't just invented when Harvard and Yale and them said it. DNA was here when the universal God put this planet together. DNA was here then. We just reached the level, huh? Well, we can tap into it. And so the CIA has spent trillions of dollars, not just controlling black folks, white, controlling the whole planet. And then they got the information thing. Had it not been for Dick Nixon, Senator McCain would have been in the electric chair. They was fixing to indict him for treason, because when he was captured in Hanoi, he told on everybody.
Greg, we have captured somebody that you gave an opportunity to get into this business. and I've mentioned his name before. He is perhaps one of the most prolific. He is one of the most prolific producers that Hollywood has ever seen.
And one of the wealthiest.
And I knew you all have an incredibly great history. You gave this gentleman his first opportunity. Welcome aboard, Ed Weinberger, who produced The Cosby Show, Taxi, who produced
Mary Tyler Moore.
Amen, Mary Tyler Moore, and on and on and on like popcorn. Welcome, Ed Weinberger.
Good morning, everybody. Well, out here it's good morning.
Yeah, it's a happy morning. It's a happy morning, Ed.
Well, and happy birthday to you and Greg. It's certainly good to hear you again.
God bless you, brother. Peace and love
God
to you.
bless you.
And the
God
family.
Bless you.
So, Ed
Everybody.
Weinberger, you were.
Listen, I hate to change the conversation because it was getting really hot, and I love to hear Greg talk and preach as he's been doing this, and I've been hearing it for a long, long time, and it never gets old. There's always something new to say, and
Ed, part of what I'm fascinated about is I'd like for you to share with this listening audience here where you were in your life when you first met Dick Gregory, and sort of just give us those first several years. Man, again, I've said to just about every guest I've had, we could talk all day, but we're fairly short on time. So if you could just sort of give us a synopsis of meeting Dick Gregory, what he meant to your life, and what you guys did through the years.
Well, it's quite a story. It would probably make a book or a good movie, but I don't know that Greg and I could tell the whole truth about it. But listen, I was a white boy working in Bloomingdale's trying to write jokes when I went up to Greg at what was the club in New York?
The Blue Angel.
The Blue Angel.
Yes.
And I brought him some jokes, and he said, "Come by and see me tomorrow." And I came by, and I was making $105 a week in Bloomingdale's, which was okay. Greg offered me $100, and I was on the road with him the next week, and I found myself in a wonderful adventure that changed my life. Suddenly, I was in Mississippi. I was involved in the civil rights movement through Greg. A whole new world opened up to me, and I saw life differently than I had seen before. I did not grow up with black people. There was none in my grammar school. There were 3 in my high school, and maybe 12 in my college, and none of whom I knew. So when suddenly I'm in the road, and suddenly I'm in Mississippi in the 1960s. At that time, it might as well have been 1848. That's right. Considering what life was like down there and what life was like in this country, I think we've come a long way, but as it's clear, we haven't come nearly far enough. And what amazed me about what's going on now, when I see we're talking about leadership in this country, that I don't know what to call them, but those people that were down there then are still here, and I can't believe it. I can't believe they haven't gotten any smarter. That the people who hated then are hating now, and there's no difference. It's as if they never grew up. It's as if they never learned anything. It's as if the world has not changed for them, and the rest of us have gone on and have seen the promise and the possibility, and these people have just, these other people who we all know who we're talking about.
You talking about rednecks?
I didn't want to use, I couldn't find the right word, but rednecks is good, and I'm thinking of people like the new senator from Texas and so forth. They just remind me of Strom Thurmond and Governor Barnett, and they just keep coming at you. And I can't believe that 50 years later, they're still here and as dumb as they've ever been and as hateful. And so That's my little speech.
Hey, you didn't go far enough. Redneck cracker honkies. Let me hear you say that.
Okay.
Let me hear you say honky.
I can say honky.
Hey,
I can say honky with the best of them. I think that word is too good for them. I think we've got to come up with another word that honky. You know.
Well, let me tell you, Ed.
Hold on, Greg. Hey, Ed, you just recently. I got to sort of move the conversation along. You just recently did a show for our dear friend and her television network, Kathy Hughes and Alfred Liggins with Television One. Can you tell us a little bit about that show?
Well, it's I can tell you a little. It's called Bells. It's set in a soul food restaurant in Atlanta. I learned about soul food through Greg. We ate in some of the best soul food restaurants in the country, and this is sort of an upscale soul food restaurant run by a father and with two daughters. His wife had passed, and Bells is his wife's name, and that's the name of the restaurant. And it's on Friday night. You can catch it on TV One if you get TV One, and it's I think you got to find. It's just an old-fashioned, traditional show where I thought I could portray a black family in a honorific way, and without being stereotypical, without going for cheap jokes, and trying to show. And also trying to deal with issues of today. I deal with a little bit of slavery in the first episode, and nutrition and health in another, and black atheism in another. So stories that I was interested in, and TV One gave me a chance to do. But I didn't come here to plug the show. I did come here to renew my friendship with Greg and with you, Rock, and I'm
Ed, and I really appreciate it. We've got to go to a break. Thank you so much for getting up so early out in Los Angeles, and I look forward to seeing you.
I got into show business, so I wouldn't have to get up early. But for you, Rock, this is a pleasure.
My brother from another mother. We'll see you soon.
Tell your family hello, and I'll call you later on this evening to share something with you.
Greg, please call me. I want to hear from you.
I got you. Thank you.
The Rock Newman Show will be back after this. Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell, let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts, here's what's going on, here's what the facts say, here's what history says, here are the lessons we know we have learned, and let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell, you let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, But we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
The prodigal son of the DMV is back. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love for Rock Newman on The Rock Newman Show.
We Act Radio is a very proud partner of the Start at Westminster, a harm reduction, prevention, and awareness initiative sponsored by the Westminster Presbyterian Church right here in D.C. START stands for Syringe, Treatment, Advocacy, Resources, Training. These are the core elements of the harm reduction philosophy at START. The goal of this program is to reduce transmissions of HIV, hepatitis, and other bloodborne infectious diseases by empowering those at risk of infection with the tools, resources, and referrals they need to take charge of their health. Over the past year, the Start at Westminster tested over 1,600 people, and they're averaging about 150 tests each month. And of course, with the proper funding, that number could go even higher. For more information on this terrific program, go to www.startatwestminster.org or visit the Westminster Presbyterian Church, 400 I Street Southwest, right here in Washington, D.C.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on The Rock Newman Show.
Hi, this is Mia. So are we going to be able to hang out today? Because, well, I have a party to go to, so I was wondering if we could squeeze something in. I love you. Bye.
Always squeeze something in for my baby. Joining us in studio, the great Super Bowl champion, Brig Owens. We were talking, there's so much we could talk about with this giant of a man in Washington, D.C. and on the national landscape. We were talking earlier really about the difficulty of what our youth have to face. And I know Brig Owens well enough to know that I'm going to take the liberty to say that he would much rather talk about his work, his real year after year after year foundational work with the youth in the metropolitan area than he would football. Brig Owens, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you, Rock. Congratulations on the kickoff of your new show.
Tell us about your program. I know that this is something near and dear to your heart, and it warms my heart to be able to introduce you to our audience and to let them know briefly about the kind of work you do, how long you've been doing it, and the impact that it's had.
Well, the program is called Super Leaders. It's a youth leadership, drug prevention, anti-violence program that Gene Upshaw, the late Gene Upshaw, former executive director of the NFL Players Association, and I started 27 years ago. And over the past 27 years, we have a 90% high school graduation rate. We have
Excuse me 1 second, Brig. Audience, please listen. This program has a 90% graduation rate. If I think I saw something recently. I know in Nevada, the state of Nevada has a 57% dropout rate. Washington, D.C., if I'm not mistaken, is somewhere north of 50%. And the program that Brig Owens has a 90% graduation rate.
Yeah, we have 75% of our youth going to college or into the real world of work. And as you know, college isn't for everyone, but there are a lot of opportunities and careers out there that our young people can prepare themselves for. And if they have a passion for it, they'll be successful, because when you have a passion, time doesn't mean anything. You'll do anything to become successful. We operate. We average about 500 students to 600 students a year. I think the reason we have a success rate is the fact that it's a 12-month after-school program. It's one of the few after-school programs in the country. So we have them 12 months out of the year. We take these young people away for 3 to 5 days in a residential setting, really to change the norms. We have kids from different social and economic backgrounds, and we take them away in 3 school clusters. So it allows kids to get a chance to know each other. And it's amazing that here in this country that we have all different cultures, and it's amazing that we all get along as well as we really do. I think we're the only country in the world that has this kind of mixture. And but we have kids that are outstanding academically. We have kids that are outstanding in the arts, kids that are outstanding athletically. We have those young people that have one foot in the schoolhouse, one next to the jailhouse. But they're all leaders within their own peer group, and that's where we take them away for those 3 to 5 days in a residential setting and change the norms. And
you know what? I would say to everyone in my listening audience, find out about Brig Owens and his program. It is something that is having such an incredibly positive impact. I think we have on the line Premier Ewart Brown from the beautiful island paradise of Bermuda. Am I correct that the one and only Dr. Ewart Frederick Brown is on the line?
Good morning, Rock Newman. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. And yourself?
I'm great.
What part of the world are you in now, or which of the 27 homes might you be residing right now?
Please don't say that. That could cause a problem. No, I'm actually in Martha's Vineyard at the moment.
Okay.
On my way back to Bermuda. First of all, I'm honored to follow Brig Owens. I followed his career when I lived in D.C., and I knew that anybody who was a player's rep would go on to do wonderful things.
Well, let me say something. You talk about being in Washington, D.C. Brig is, look here, little old me. I have Brig Owens on my left and Richard Claxton Gregory, better known as Dick Gregory, on my right. So we're in good company, Doc.
God bless you, brother. You're about 20 miles from where I live in Plymouth, Mass., and you better get it out there before that snowstorm hits that's coming your way.
Don't worry. I'm on my way, brother.
You know what? You talked about being in Washington, D.C. Howard University, you have talked about as being one of the most influential institutions in your life. Talked about following Brig's career. You led the shutdown of the administration building and got quite a reputation as a result of it. You went from there and you practiced medicine and went back into Bermuda and went through the ranks and became the premier of the country. Can you tell us what the experience of the 60s and the civil rights movement meant to your life and to your future success?
Well, I know we don't have time for me to do it all, but I can, in a nutshell, Rock, that the exposure at Howard was just tremendous. And it was the kind of experience that no one could have described beforehand. And I think that if it were not for Howard, my perspective would have been different. I had the opportunity, along with many others, to see and touch leadership, to see and understand how it affected our people, and to see an institution transform itself from one of isolation to one of relevance.
You're right there. That's you know, matter of fact, it has the largest budget of any black college on the planet. It has over $800 million budget.
And Doc, you used the word relevance. And I've posted on Facebook over the last year or so that I think that Howard University and those who have come through the corridors of Howard University have had as much impact on the improvement of this country, more so than perhaps any other institution in the land.
And one other thing they have to do, that's for the next group that comes through. Howard University is named after a white general, General Howard, that got famous from killing Indian children. That is a disgrace. That is a disgrace. We have to leave with that stigma on us, a white boy that became a general and famous for killing Indian children. And we have to change that and do something about it.
You know, in future shows, we're going to talk about just that kind of subject and symbolism of our, you know, teams in this area. Dr. Brown, I know your time is limited. We need to move on to a break. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing with us
Well, Rock,
today.
congratulations. You are, in fact, a legend in your own time, my brother.
Thank you, brother. He is.
I thought you were going to say it more correctly in my own mind.
No, I'll give you a break today. Take care, guys.
Be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
The Rock Newman Show will be right back.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
Good God. I got to ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
Hey, it's your boy Richard Fowler. When I took this journey to start the Richard Fowler Show, I understand that it was bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us, you see. The only way we can truly create change in this country and to the world is by informing ourselves, empowering ourselves, and understanding how important our voices are to the power structure in this country. That's why we did it. That's why we created the Richard Fowler Show. This is our time. This is our opportunity. And most importantly, this is our movement. So join us every Friday night from 8 to 10 when we tackle the big questions of the day, when we talk about the real issues, when we get rid of the talking points, the talking heads, and the smoking guns, and we talk about how these issues really affect you. We can't wait for you to join our movement every Friday nights from 8 to 10, only on We Act Radio.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to The Rock Newman Show.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I looked at the pictures of the little deers. They're so cute. Thank you for sending them. Bye, Grandpa. I miss you. Bye. Oh, and tell Grammy I said hi. Bye.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. And let me certainly do, what do they call that? Go to a crass commercial break, as they say. But I'm not going to go to the break because I'm going to do this live, because I like doing this live, because I really believe in the company that I am speaking on behalf of here. And that is the Pohanka it's the Pohanka Auto Group, but there are multiple dealerships. And the one I'm going to talk about now is Pohanka Chevrolet in Chantilly. It is one of your top shops for all of your automotive needs. They have a huge inventory, awesome deals. They service all makes and models, and they too are open 7 days a week. You never need to make an appointment for service, and they are open from 7 until 11 to accommodate your busy schedule. Tell them that Rock Newman sent you, and you will enjoy an incredible deal on a Chevy of your choice and the absolute convenience of the best service department in the entire Chevy industry. Tell them Rock Newman sent you. And I am back, and I'm, the information that, Brig, you just shared. As you know, Angela Alsobrooks, the state's attorney for Prince George's County, was here first. And, as we talk about what's going on in this region, there is a high proliferation of murder and all kinds of trouble. Brig, I wanted to take just another moment to thank you for your 27 years of commitment to our youth and for being such a stand-up person that is making a positive difference in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
Well, thank you, Jacob. I think it's very important that we do take that time with our youth. Yes. They're our future. They're our lifeblood. And we got to build a better foundation for them to follow, and also for them to realize that their dreams, they can become true. We can't sit back and wait for anyone else to make a difference in our youth's lives. We can't sit back and let the government, we can't sit back and let anyone else. But we as a community, we as a people, we as parents, we as brothers and sisters and friends, we can make that difference in our own community. We can't sit back and wait for other people to do that.
Brig, that is extraordinarily well said. And talking about making a difference in a community and truly around the country is our next guest. He's making a difference across this land. He's had a storied background, and what a story to tell. Sort of someone that you truly could say has gone from the outhouse to the White House. Now, I'm giving him those accolades, but personally, I don't like him, because he gave me such an incredible heart attack in Los Angeles, and we will never disclose the reasons why, but I'm still honored to have him as my guest. Judge Greg Mathis from the Judge Mathis Show. Greg, welcome. Judge Greg Mathis is Judge, huh? I thought they said that Judge Greg Mathis was on, but Kenny Williams is on, and with a very short time. He's a very fast runner. He was a professional baseball player. Now he's executive vice president of the Chicago White Sox. He was, Kenny, were you the first general manager in baseball to win a World Series?
Well, no, actually Bob Watson. You're talking about the first African-American general manager in baseball. Bob Watson with the New York Yankees did it a few years before we did it in Chicago. But first, hey, congratulations, number one, on the show, Rock, and happy birthday. And I am thrilled to be on the show. And I tell you what, a lot of people don't know that you're also known as the most interesting man in the world. You are the true most interesting man in the world.
Oh, my God. Yes. Oh, my God.
And you proved it today by having Dick Gregory on. And if he's still in the building, please.
Yeah, I'm still here, brother. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You know, I came to Washington, D.C. over the Christmas holidays, Christmas and New Year's holidays. And I went into all of the CVS stores and the Walgreens, and Kenny, I couldn't find tissues. I couldn't find Kleenex tissues.
Where are you going with this story?
And I finally asked the question, what happened to all the Kleenex tissues? And they said all the women in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area had bought up all the Kleenex tissues to wipe their tears because they heard Kenny Williams had gotten engaged.
I was wondering, where are you going with this story? Yeah, I'm a lucky man. You know, I found the woman that I've been looking for all my life, and that's Rita Samberlin, and she is just, you've met her, and like you said, you'd have been hard pressed. I'd have been hard pressed to do better.
You're not married. You're not married yet, but I'm gonna tell you in advance. You're engaged way over your head.
Kenny, Dick Greg, go ahead and get married. I've been married 54 years, man.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I didn't say I was happy. Serious.
Hey, Dick, you just met her, actually. She had to do a story. She works for CNN, as you know. She had to do a story in Washington, D.C., and ran into you.
Doing the inauguration.
Smith. And B. Smith, yeah.
Yes, doing the inauguration, yes.
Yes.
Hey, Kenny, there is so much more that you and I can and will talk about. I want to talk about your Tommy Smith and John Carlos relationships, and all the things that happened to you. You're being on the football field at the Stanford game when the crowd came out and the band came out and overtook the field. All of that we could talk about. I know you're short on time. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing my birthday, and sharing the air with us. We'll talk soon.
All right, you guys take care. Now,
Thank you, brother. God bless.
Be well.
You too.
Yeah. Talking about interesting, Brig, as a football player, Kenny was on the field. You remember the Stanford game that ended, prematurely when the band rushed the field?
Yeah, I remember that.
I want to ask you, as a professional football player, what was the single most memorable moment of your career?
I think the most memorable moment probably was the fact of being able to beat the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs to win the championship and go back to the Super Bowl. And I got an interception and took it back for a touchdown. So, as you know, I started out in Dallas as a rookie, and they traded me here, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Sweet revenge.
And, oh yeah, it was good. And back there, in 1965, I was a college quarterback, and when they drafted me with the idea of my having an opportunity to play quarterback, once you got to Dallas, you knew that wasn't going to happen. So being able to be switched to a defensive back, which is something I had never played before, never tackled anyone before. So to be able to make a big play against the Cowboys was probably the most memorable moment. And other than that was the fact that Lombardi called me up when he was here, called me up late one night, said he wanted to beat me first thing that morning, and I thought I was going to be traded. Little did I know that he was going to appoint me as one of his defensive captains.
Great Vince Lombardi. Speaking of greatness, this is the gentleman who I was introducing earlier, who I told you I had great admiration for all the positive impact that he's made, sort of his journey from the outhouse to the White House, if you will. Someone who had troubles with the legal system, went through the legal system and became a judge in that system, and you now know him as Judge Greg Mathis on TV. I never talk behind anybody's back, so now that we do have him on the air, I do want to repeat what I said earlier, that is, I personally don't like him for the incredible heart attack that he caused me in Los Angeles, which we will never talk about the reasons why. But nevertheless, Judge Greg Mathis, you're on the Rock Newman Show. You're in the house. Welcome to our airways.
Good morning, my dear friend. How you doing?
I ain't your friend. I don't like you.
You keep on. I will throw another practical joke on you.
Gregory, brother.
Congratulations, man. I'm so happy that you have a voice there to let all of the country and D.C. area know that we still have some hope, and you're spreading that hope and inspiration. So thank you, man, on behalf of me and the rest of our community.
Greg, again, thank you for coming on. I'm in the studio right now with Brig Owens, former Super Bowl champion, and Dick Gregory. Say hello to Dick Gregory.
God bless you, my brother. Peace and love. Always nice to see you. We'll have to stop meeting that way in airports.
That's right. That's right. It was great seeing you. My wife and I were commenting on how we wish one day that we will stay as healthy as you, and God bless us with years as he has with you. So God bless you. Thanks for all you've done for our community over the years.
Hey, Greg, give us a quick synopsis of your going from the bench into the world, the much, much, much more lucrative world of television. How did that happen?
Well, an interesting story. You know, when I ran for judge in Detroit in '94, the media attacked me because of my ex-offender background, and I'd had my record expunged and had become a lawyer and had worked for the mayor of Detroit for many years, and so I decided to run for judge, and here came the media after me, and so the community knew me, however, because I had worked very strongly throughout Detroit, and so it backfired on them when they tried to say that I wasn't qualified to be elected judge because of my background. Well, it backfired, and I indeed beat a 20-year incumbent by 10,000 votes. And so that story shot around the country, like for one day. You know how you make one day national news. And so the story was former street gang leader becomes youngest judge in Michigan history 15 years after leaving jail. And so, of course, media came, Hollywood came calling. They say, well, we want to do a movie. We want to do a movie. What was intended to be a movie ultimately led to the Judge Show, and
one of the conditions I require is that they tell my journey at the beginning of the show so that other young brothers and single mothers and others will know that they can come up out of the poverty and streets and overcome it and pursue their dreams. So that's how it all happened, and years later, we're still trying to fight. I'm here in Memphis, Tennessee right now doing some gang intervention, just in the trenches, still fighting.
Greg, in the trenches, and we know who coined that phrase.
That's right, our dear mutual friend, Butch Lewis.
Hey, Greg, as we wrap this up, we are going to have on this first show, and it's just going to grow, a younger and younger audience.
Great.
And to the youth who are listening and watching, I just need a couple of pearls of wisdom from someone who's been there, done that.
Well, you know, when I talk to our young people, I talk kind of strong because you can't sweet talk these street guys how to do in their business. You got to have to challenge them, and that manhood that they walk around with, you got to challenge it. And so my challenge is always to our young people who are facing tremendous obstacles that they have to fight back. They have to fight back and not punk out. That's my message, is fighting back by putting down the guns and picking up the books, marching, protesting, doing what they think is necessary to save our community. If they are disgruntled, if the justice system isn't working for them or working against them in many cases as it is, and if they're denied economic opportunity, those are the reasons to march. Those are the reasons to fight. So I say fight back, don't punk out.
Judge Mathis, Greg, man, I know how busy you were, how busy you have been, and how busy you were today. So for you to take your time out, man, and to join us, I'm really honored, man. I'm really pleased. Much love to you, to your family, and I look forward to having you back on in the not-too-distant future.
Thank you so much, Brother Rock. And once again, thanks for all you do. And Brother Gregory, we love you so dearly. A lot of what I do was inspired by your work, and so I thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank
God bless.
Take care. As we wrap up this hour, I just can't personally thank Brig Owens enough for the commitment that he has made with tangible results to make our metropolitan area a better place to live. Brig, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rock. Continue
Thank
to
you,
make
my
a
brothers.
And Richard Claxton Gregory III. We were in Iran in 1979 at the Semiramis Hotel when the hostages were across the street in the American Embassy. We had guns, well, I had guns pointed at me because I went out to get a suntan. Greg already had a tan.
I was going to get me a drink.
And Greg is one of the last Westerners, certainly from the United States, to actually meet with the Ayatollah. What interesting and incredible times those were. Greg, much love to you,
Thank
to
you,
the
my
family.
brother.
Please
Peace
tell
to
Lil
you.
I said hello.
Thank you.
This wraps up the second hour of the Rock Newman Show. Let's see if we can get through this third hour. Thank you so much, those of you who have tuned in. And right now, we got a sellout crowd. And you know, as a promoter, you know, that's the favorite two letters is S-O, is sellout. And so it's a whole bunch of folks here in the house. I just see Mayor Tony Williams just showed up. I think Marion Barry might be coming, except Marion might be afraid to come because I heard Tony always whips him in tennis, and we'll see. We'll see. So thank you so much. We're going to go to break. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a New York second.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show. You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
Good God, I gotta ask you what we need. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. food. Henry Soul Food.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. What we need. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
I'm Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. Last year, my state became the 12th state to allow medical use of marijuana by patients who are seriously ill. Some people were surprised that a Republican governor supports medical marijuana, but I'm hardly alone. Groups like the American College of Physicians, American Nurses Association, and American Public Health Association have all acknowledged the medical value of marijuana. New research about medical marijuana is coming out almost every day, showing remarkable potential in all sorts of serious conditions, including cancer, AIDS, and chronic pain. But some in government still want to put politics and ideology ahead of public health. To learn more about medical marijuana and what you can do to help, contact the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org. Thanks.
This is Margaret Flowers.
And I'm Kevin Zeese. Join us every Monday morning, 11 a.m. for Clearing the Fog.
Speaking truth to expose the forces of greed.
Start the week with your eyes open.
The fog.
The forces of greed that spin news stories for the benefit of the 1%.
Each week, we feature guests who are working to expose these truths and offer real solutions to the current crises we face.
Knowledge is power, and with knowledge, you will be empowered to act to shift the power to the people.
Monday mornings at 11 a.m. on weactradio.com or 1480 a.m.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to The Rock Newman Show.
Hey, maybe tomorrow we can scratch a new chain you got me. Bye.
How much time? 5 seconds. Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. We're going to try to wrap this third hour up. Keep it exciting, entertaining, informative. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have what I'm going to call this is probably like a political hour. Each of the Washington, D.C. mayors were invited to come on, and very graciously, Sharon Pratt Kelly decided to join us. Tony Williams decided to join us. Marion Barry decided to join us. And Vince Gray decided to join us. Vince did a pre-recorded piece because he was concerned that his flight would not land in time. So we played that earlier this morning. And now we have in studio Tony Williams, the Honorable Mayor Marion, former Mayor Marion Barry, Mayor for Life, is not here yet. but I do have to my left Tony Williams, and to my right Rushern Baker. Rushern Baker is the county executive for Prince George's County. And there's been a debate about whether or not Prince George's County is a subsidiary of Washington, D.C., or if Washington, D.C. is an extension of Prince George's County. Nevertheless, they are close in proximity to each other. Now, being that this is live radio, something just happened. I just got a call, and Alex, I need you to come here, please. I just got a call from former Mayor Kelly. If you would take that call and kind of make it happen the way we make it do what it need to do. So I've got the mayor, and I have the county executive, Mayor Williams. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Welcome, my brother.
Now, there's a story about that. Before I go to Rushern, let me explain why Tony Williams just said what he said. Tony, at one point, when he was the person that handled the district's finances, was referred to as a bean counter, just a bean counter who wore a bow tie, a very geeky kind of square dude. And we met one day, and Tony had heard, I guess, that I had a bit of an urban reputation, and he wanted to make sure that he made a good impression. At least this is my version. And so he came up and he said, "Hello, my brother." And I said, "Damn, Tony, if we're going over to the Southeast and Barry Farms and Parkland and those places, you need to learn how to say, 'Yo, bro.'" But since then, we've greeted each other with, "Hello, my brother. Hello, my brother. Thanks again for being on the Rock Newman Show."
Congratulations on the show, Rock.
Man, you know, I was explaining earlier that I did radio 30 years ago. I did it for a couple of years, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I went on to do some other things. I wasn't making any money in it. I went on to do some other things that, you know, gave me quite a wonderful life. But I always missed radio. It gives you something that nothing else gave me. And to be able to be here on Martin Luther King Avenue with the kind of, you know,
So
crowd that is showing.
Kathy Hughes when she was doing radio?
I did when they first started. Right, when they first started, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So I'm flattered and honored to be here, and I'm also flattered and honored to have someone who taught me when I was in elementary school. His name is Rushern Baker. As a matter of fact, I think it was the other way around. I think he was one of my students when I was a counselor at Howard University. Rushern Baker, we could not be more proud of you, and on a very, very serious note, more proud of the job that you're trying to do in Prince George's County, the vision that you're showing, the absolute commitment and obvious dedication that you have for making Prince George's County a better place.
He's
Welcome
really
to
doing
the
an
show.
excellent job.
He is doing a absolutely fantastic job.
Well, thank you. It's good to be on here, and it's good to be with you, Mayor Williams. Rock, not only was Rock my counselor, he was my wife's counselor when we first got to Howard University. Always a great mentor of ours, so it's good to be here, and congratulations on your show. I should say this before we get started. I saw all the former mayor, and you got the current mayor of D.C., so I brought backup. So I got the former county executive Wayne Curry here with me.
And, let me tell you something. I am so glad you did, because there is not only do I want to, we must talk to Wayne Curry. I currently reside at National Harbor.
Great.
And it is not lost on me the impact, the effort.
That's a huge project.
That the impact and effort that Wayne Curry made in bringing and making National Harbor a reality. Some other folks took more credit than perhaps they deserve, but I know the story of how long Wayne Curry was in the trenches trying to make that happen. We also have on the line with us, we just got it going on. We have Sharon Pratt, and like a knucklehead, she's been Sharon Pratt for quite some time and dropped the Kelly name quite some time ago. If I'm hearing from my producers correctly, The Honorable Sharon Pratt is on the line.
Delighted to be with you.
Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. Man, this is a Howard University homecoming.
Yes, it is.
Sharon,
you got a well-educated crowd here.
I would say so, because when you come from Howard U, you get it. You just get it like that. Sharon, man, lots to talk about with you. You were a corporate executive with Pepco, and is that right, Pepco? The phone company.
That's right.
That's right, Pepco. That's right. And you eventually transitioned from Pepco and decided to come in the public sector. Was that a frightening adventure for you?
Well, I guess you could say it's, and I think Mayor Williams knows something about more of those dramatic leaps. But I'd always been involved in politics, always been involved in the effort to, obtain home rule, had been the treasurer of the National Democratic Party. So, the political process wasn't new to me, but it's always different when you're the one who's right there in the middle in the arena yourself. So, fighting the lions yourself. So it's a different story when you're the one there. So it was a leap, but hopefully one where I could take that leap and bring some of the notions of efficiency and technology and, to the city as we were moving towards the 21st century.
I think that there is something to be said for respecting political correctness. And if I'm some kind of way politically incorrect right now, I'm going to ask for forgiveness in advance. But in addition to being an outstanding mayor and my having a soft spot because you're the mayor that allowed us to bring the first heavyweight championship fight to Washington, D.C. in more than 50 years. In addition to all the wonderful things that you did, as we talked about the education and the rest, you by far, and here where it might be politically incorrect, are the best looking mayor that Washington, D.C. ever had.
Not a lot of competition, but it's true.
Generous,
Tony just says not a lot of competition, but it's still true.
It's very true, Madam Mayor.
Tony, let me ask you.
I think the mayor really made a mark, too. She sells herself short. She really made a mark on the whole focus on lack of self-determination in the city of Washington, D.C.
Certainly, and D.C. Statehood.
Well, thank you for saying that, yes.
D.C. Statehood is going to be a talking about Washington, D.C., and it being disenfranchised, it having taxation without no representation. That will be something that we will consistently talk about here on this program. Tony, let me ask you, you came into office and the city had come out of receivership. And these were some of the most daunting of economic times. What do you feel was your what was your highlight? Every mayor that is on the program now and the mayor that decided he didn't want to come on the program, in one form or the other, I've known, supported. And I just wanted to, and I said to everyone a month after they've gotten into office, and I certainly did it with Tony, I said, you sure you wanted this job? Because I think it's one of the hardest jobs, not just in America, but in the world. What was your highlight?
I mean, I think the highlight was, it certainly wasn't, as we were talking about with Mayor Pratt, it certainly hasn't been realized politically and constitutionally, but operationally and just practically bringing respect to the city, investment to the city, restoring the finances of the city. That's important because it allows us to do the many things that we need to do in all parts of the city.
Sharon, I would ask you the same thing. Such a tough job. It's hard to get a compliment. It's just a thankless job. Oftentimes, I'd ask you, what was your highlight?
Well, I do want to say that Mayor Williams did a spectacular job of bringing the level of respect and regard, particularly around fiscal issues, which is essential to the city really growing and prospering as it is doing today. I would like to think that helping the city redefine her vision, having a vision that was bigger than this sort of parochial feudal system that was under the thumb of the federal government, to recognize that we were bigger than just the home to the federal government. We were a cosmopolitan community. We launched the Taste of D.C., as one initiative. We made the effort to start bringing basketball back and, heavyweight boxing championships back into the city. Put an emphasis on, diversifying the economy of the city and bringing technology to the city and trying to bring technology. It was a lot of paradigm shifts, maybe too much for 4 years, but we'll have the city to begin to see herself as the sophisticated cosmopolitan community that she has the potential and is now realizing.
You guys sit at the seat of power, and then it's over. Tony, what are you doing now?
I get tickets.
You get tickets.
The parking office is working very efficiently, I can say. So you were talking about Howard. I went to speak to General Counsel Kurt Schmoke up at Howard just on Thursday, and I ran in there. I figured I could just run in there for 15 minutes and conduct some business and get back out. And it was cold that day, too, but they were working efficiently. Got a ticket.
And Sharon, what are you doing these days?
What I've been doing for over 10 years, I have ex-political people do a consulting firm, and a lot of it in sustainable energy and healthcare, and I have an IT partner. That's really what I do.
Yeah. Are you going to be working with Mayor Gray at all? He has announced that he wants Washington D.C. to be the greenest city in the country. Will you guys be doing anything together on that?
Well, nothing that I know of just yet. Although I do work with a General Electric distributor, the LED lighting. So that would be one opportunity for the city. But I think that's a bold move, and I think it's an important move. And Chicago's done it quite well, and Washington D.C. should be a part of that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor. That's true.
Absolutely. So do I. I'm really contemplating going to gas-efficient cars myself. I mean, this is sort of a little gesture, as a small gesture. This again is live radio, and I just see that as walked through the front doors and coming through the masses, parting the seas, is one Lorenzo Creighton. Lorenzo Creighton, I'm going to segue here to a little piece of business. Lorenzo Creighton is president of the MGM Grand National Harbor Project. Lorenzo, in the house. Thank you very much for showing up. And as I do that without going to break, I'm going to do an announcement to talk about, because one of our sponsors also is the MGM Grand National Harbor. Something that the guest that just joined me to the right is Wayne Curry, was very instrumental in making, helping to make National Harbor a reality. Well, Lorenzo is in the house. Lorenzo's company, MGM National Harbor, is sponsoring our show. And I want to say this. This is going to be a windfall for Prince George's County and the metropolitan area. I would hope that we all would support all things MGM, because it's going to make a very positive difference to our community. And if you want to go have fun, and you want to do some gaming, and you want to see some entertainment, and you want to see eat some of the best food in the world, go to an MGM property. I don't care if it's MGM Grand Detroit, if it's MGM Grand Las Vegas, if it's the Bellagio. The Bellagio's got one of the greatest Chinese restaurants in the world. Lorenzo, welcome to our humble abode over here. We love the MGM Grand.
Yes, Rock, I think a lot of people in D.C. think that National Harbor is really competing with us. My view, and I'm sure you agree with this, is that we really need to be working to link it better to the city, because it's really in the shared interest of both Prince George's County and the city that it's as successful as possible.
You know, and I'm interested in this, Wayne Curry, and I hope that the listening audience is. You served 8 years as county executive in Prince George's County, and if you wouldn't mind sharing the genesis of National Harbor emerging into a reality.
Well, thank you, Rock, and it's a pleasure to join you. You know, I can't think of an occasion that would allow me to talk to both you and Lorenzo at the same time, so I came to Southeast. I'm a lifer in Prince George's County. I grew up there. You grew up there. We know an awful lot about its history, its heritage, its unfolding. National Harbor is but one of the dramatic opportunities that we managed to have when I was county executive. I was the first elected African-American county executive. We arrived at a time when finances were funny. We had just changed administrations. We had just elected the governor, only to discover that we were broke. In the midst of that and figuring out, so what do we do now, comes along a developer who had gotten control of the land that was National Harbor, and he got it, among other things, because I didn't have any money. The government's having first priority on that distressed property that was coming out of the banks. I could have had it first, but we didn't have the money. So long story short, that developer was Milt Peterson. Yes. He came in, he sat with me, he had a vision for what he wanted on the river. The two of us arm wrestled about our respective visions, and we're able to come up with what turns out to be a really dramatic plan, and I think unfolding. Certainly historic and promising for Prince George's County.
You know what? I'm going to ask Lorenzo to come over and join us, and we can kind of talk, you know, in each mic. I'd like to ask you, Rashawn, I know that you put, to some extent, you used a lot of your political capital to make to make this MGM Grand project, to give it life, to make it, you know, turn into a reality. Why did you? What value did you see that made it such that you were willing to, you know, sort of go out on a limb like that and risk the consternation of many in the community
and many of my staff?
And why did you do that?
Well, let me just say, let me segue into it this way by paying Mayor Williams a compliment. One of the things that we admire, or I admire, in Prince George's County is the way that you laid the foundation, you and Mayor Pratt, but laid the foundation of what you wanted to see the district look like. I mean, we certainly would not have H Street or U Street had you not done some of the things and tough decisions that you did during your administration to lay the groundwork for those coming. Well, Wayne did the same thing for us in Prince George's County. National Harbor was never meant to be, in and of itself, just what you see there. It was meant to grow and be a destination point for the Washington region and us working together. So when the idea came for expanding gaming in Maryland, what better site, what better destination, what better venue than National Harbor, which could attract people from all over the world coming here to visit the Washington region, for us to come out and to build upon, to take a chapter out of the playbook of the District of Columbia, to build upon the foundation Wayne laid in developing. And that's how you really make communities better. And so for us, to me, it was a no-brainer to roll the political dice and to put our political credit out there so that we get, you know, a destination resort like National Harbor, like MGM, to come and build in National Harbor.
And since we have Lorenzo Creighton here, who is president of
Mayor,
who is president of the MGM Grand National Harbor Initiative. Lorenzo, I would like to ask you, first I'd like to thank you for being a sponsor of the Rock Newman Show.
Absolutely, I wouldn't miss it.
I would like to ask you, MGM Grand is a multi-billion-dollar company. And frankly speaking, folks in Prince George's County are not necessarily used to multi-billion-dollar companies.
Now, for the record, only Rock could say that because he is from Prince George's County.
I'm just talking about us country folks. You know, Lorenzo,
that's you, Wayne.
What was it? What was it that attracted MGM Grand to Prince George's County into National Harbor?
Well, you know, we've obviously gotten a great reception in Prince George's County from all of the stakeholders, but the location is probably the best location for a casino site in North America.
Why is that?
Well, it's access to a great market, you know, the Washington, D.C., Baltimore corridor, and the tourists that come into that area, as well as Prince George's County itself. And the location, the site location, is on a major thoroughfare up the East Coast. Several 100,000 cars per day go past that location. So it is by far one of the best locations in North America.
Wow. You know, that's something to be said. That's something to be said. It's something to be very proud of in this metropolitan region, that it would be said by a senior, most highly respected, you know, gaming official that that is one of the most attractive locations in the country for them to bring their next a business venture. I must announce that we have in studio with us at the microphones of the Rock Newman Show someone who needs not much of an introduction. The mayor for life of Washington, D.C., Marion Barry. Marion, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Hey, Rock, how you doing?
I am great,
Man,
and I'm glad to see you.
I'm glad to see you. We go back a long way.
We do.
Even to Howard University when you were a dorm counselor.
We don't want to talk about that.
I want to tell the rest of the story.
No, don't tell the rest of the story.
I could join him in on
that. Marion, man, you know, I said that Marion Barry. Someone said Marion Barry has 9 lives. I said that's way underestimating Marion Barry. It doesn't matter what has happened in Marion Barry's life. Marion Barry has landed on his feet. Think of him what you will, good, bad, indifferent. He has landed on his feet. To what do you attribute the incredible resilience that you have as an individual and as a public official?
Well, first of all, let me comment on the market that Lorenzo was talking about. You know, D.C. gets about 18 million visitors a year, which means a lot of them. I like to promote Washington for a casino, but I can't do that right now. Back to that station. First of all, Rock, I believe in a mighty God. I just believe deep in my soul that God is in charge of everything, and that those of us who have difficulties from time to time, we all gonna have some. I have to call on him, too. He gave me a lot of courage, gave me a lot of resilience, gave me a lot of stand-upness. You know, I may bend but not break. I may push myself down, fall down. Somebody pushes me down. It's not that you get pushed down, you fall down, that you get up. That's what's important, that you get up. And all of us have had some kind of trauma in our lives that require that, whether it's drugs and alcohol, whether it's your kids going bad or something, or a lot of other things, or business gone broke or something like that. So in politics, you have to have that courage. You got to have the courage. You had the best vision in the world. If you don't have the courage to carry it out, it ain't gonna happen. You got to have the courage to stand up in front of the crowd rather than behind the crowd. Because if you're behind the crowd, I don't think you do is get the aftermath of it. And so that's what has kept me. It's God.
Marion,
my mother had a lot to do with it too. I'll tell you a quick story.
Your trials have been well documented. What folks don't understand, a lot of people don't understand because of the publicity of some of those trials, is that for several years you were thought and judged to be one of the best mayors ever in the country. Let me ask you, as I've asked Tony and as I've asked Sharon Pratt, what has been your highlight, the single, if you had to pick one, the single highlight moment of your political career?
I think that two. I got to pick two. One is the summer job program. Over 100,000 young people, including Rashawn Baker,
that's right,
has gone through the summer job program. 100,000 in 16 years. That's a lot of people. It helps you put money in their pockets, etc. The other one would be my stand about black businesses. Went from 3% to 47%. If I had to pick any, those are the two that I would pick. as being successful. In fact, Wayne Curry, when he was preceded you, Sean, I came to his second inauguration. He said, "I want to thank Marion Barry for the lodges of Prince George's County, you know, for the Mitchellvilles and the Port Washingtons, and a lot of D.C. government workers making $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. A lot of businesses, black businesses in Prince George's County. So those are the two that I would pick about."
All right, let me go back to Rashawn. Rashawn, you took over the county seat when the county was going through a very rough period.
How you doing?
With what was the downfall of Jack Johnson. Some people question your wisdom and anybody's wisdom for running for that seat at that office. As a political figure, what was it that drove you? What was it that drove you to move into that pressure cooker of an office? What was the driving force behind that?
Probably like everyone else you talked to this morning, I didn't realize what a pressure cooker it was before I took it over, or I might not have run. But no, you know, as the mayor said, that his summer jobs program is his program that helps minority businesses compete and contribute. I had a chance as a delegate to watch the work. I came into politics when Wayne first took over as county executive. And I think we all saw the great potential that Prince George's County had to be a contributing part of this Washington region. And I looked at the foundation of the work that Wayne was doing, and one of the things that drove me to leave the House of Delegates and to run for county executive was I wanted to build upon that. No one administration is going to carry it all the way through. There's got to be a succession. You saw that in D.C. You certainly saw that in Atlanta, and I wanted to be part of it. Unfortunately, I didn't win when I ran, and I felt, you know, after the 8 years of Johnson administration, I really felt that there was a chance for us to build and expand this area. So that led me to run. Now, having said that, when I took over the office, I took it over at a time where I'm sure nobody would like to come into office this way, and that is you literally had to get rid of every institutional knowledge you had in government. Because at the time that I took over, there was an ongoing FBI.
It was tainted. I mean, yeah. I'll be less diplomatic, but everybody was tainted.
Right. It was an ongoing FBI investigation, and so you couldn't keep anyone because you didn't know where it was going. What it forced me to do, and I think helped the administration was, and we did get some criticism for it, a lot of criticism, quite honestly, is we had to take a page from President Obama's book, and that is you go back to the last Democratic administration, or you go back to the last administration which had a government that was run without question. If you notice, a lot of the people we put in as acting during that first 6 months had served in the Curry administration. And, you know, I got a lot of criticism for not bringing in new people, but what I said was we needed to stabilize the government. I couldn't be afraid, and I think this is what Mayor Williams was saying, or Mayor Barry was saying, is that you got to have, you know, political courage. You got to be willing to stand up when people are criticizing you and do the right thing to move the government forward. And for me, it was picking good, smart individuals and convincing them to come in and work for Prince George's County and letting them know that we could be the economic engine of this region, that we could build upon and have a good relationship with not only Maryland but with the district and with Northern Virginia. But those were the things. I did stay up a lot that first year and lost all my hair, and it all turned gray. But things are starting to look like they're working out.
Let me ask you, before I go back to Sharon, Tony, and Marion, do you feel in Prince George's County as if you have a dog in the race about the idea of Washington, D.C. gaining statehood?
Yes. I mean, you know, for me, and I can just answer personally, I support statehood for the District of Columbia. I've got a great working relationship with Mayor Gray. In fact, you know, I say to our folks all the time, and I think this is something that Wayne understood certainly. You know, we're right next to Rome. When we talk about building, you asked about National Harbor and And MGM, Wayne's favorite thing is that we're right next to Rome. Rome is the District of Columbia. If Rome falls down, then we all fall down.
Right.
But we can't solve a lot of our problems unless we're working hand in hand with the district. And so, yes.
Now, working hand in hand with the district, we've kept things pretty pleasant in the last.
I know why you want to ruin it.
in the last 3 years. What's going on? I hear. I ain't wanting to start no rumor. I just heard a rumor that I had heard that somebody said that there may be the possibility that that big stadium out there, Raljon, might be coming back to the district. So I'd imagine that's a bit of a tug of war. Either one of you all want to take a stab at that?
I want to jump on it.
This is a beautiful opportunity for a deal maker.
Let the county go first. Let the county go first.
This is a wonderful opportunity for a deal maker. I'm sure that there are many things in our universe that belong in Washington and a bunch that belong in Prince George's County. So, as we talk about what's in and out of D.C. and federal agency relocations and that sort of thing, there may be other things that would look good in Prince George's County, create more jobs and opportunity, give us a chance to be a part of what goes on in the city while we create some jobs in Prince George's. So to me, it's an exciting moment just to hear people rumor that kind of thing. Because once the game begins, jacks are better to open.
I've often heard if men can't disagree, let a woman straighten it out. Sharon, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't know what my thoughts are regarding the stadium in particular, but what I do feel as we begin to have a broader vision of ourselves, that broader vision ought to see Washington, D.C. and Prince George's as a much more of a strategic partnership around economic growth. Washington has a lot of cachet, and Prince Georgia has a lot of enterprise and a lot of land. And I think that we would be remiss if we didn't begin to work in partnership with each other more often than we do not around expanding those economic opportunities and in some ways building upon some of the initiatives advanced in previous years. Marion, you certainly did it with the minority businesses. Tony, you did it in diversifying our businesses. I think we need to be more strategic in that partnership and see each other in that regard.
Before Tony, you and Marion address that. Marion, have you ever beat Tony playing tennis?
Did I beat him?
Yeah.
Ask him.
Oh!
I didn't beat him. I whooped him.
As in a beatdown?
At the heart-to-heart, Curry Marion Barry had the idea of the
I thought Tony had to be a better tennis game.
Well, maybe somewhere else.
He had some flax out there telling that story.
No, we played in the heart-to-heart that Curry does every year. Heart down the street, yes. H-A-R-T.
Right.
Heart to heart, H-E-A-R-T, because of the Tennis and Learning Center, which Tony helped fund. I mean, certainly he did that.
Yes.
And but back to the other question.
Yeah, the statehood question. Absolutely.
Not statehood, but just about the stadium.
Oh, the stadium.
Obviously, you know him for statehood. That's begun. Yeah.
Okay, but we want to talk about that too.
Yeah, we will.
But no, stadium.
Well, Rockman said this.
Well, let's flow with the stadium.
You're the only person I know that can get all of us together here at the same time. You rock around with applause. Come on. I mean, get Wayne Curry, get Rashawn Baker, get me, get Tony Williams and Sharon Pratt Kelly on the phone. But obviously, I didn't want the Redskins to leave. I tell you that. Sharon knows that. That I was this close to getting Jack Kent Cooke to stay here. Part of what happened, he wanted me and the citizens to pay for the stadium and the infrastructure. Now, we weren't going to do all that. That was too much. I said, we'll pay for the infrastructure, pay for the, you pay for the stadium. And he's a sort of eccentric kind of guy. And he went to Prince George's. Now, Jack Evans and I have been hoping and wishing, Wayne and LaShawn, that we could get Dan Snyder to come back here. But I don't think that's going to be in the very near future because the economics won't work right. Okay. He still has contracts with the state and with the county. And, I'm a Redskin supporter. I just jump up and down. In fact, I did something that nobody else did. Early in August, I predicted that the Redskins with RG3 would go to the playoffs. They did. Yeah. Now we didn't go. The Ravens went to the playoffs and won. That was a hell of a game, though.
It was. It absolutely was. Let me ask you. I want to ask Sharon, Tony, and Marion in that order. What do you think is the single most strongest impediment to Washington, D.C. statehood? Sharon, if you go first.
Well, I mean, I think it's, one is the pure politics of it. I mean, you have, you have a predictable Democratic, right now, foreseeable future Democratic senators, and I think that's a huge impediment. But I think deep within the psyche of the federal government, be it Democrat or Republican, they enjoy having the District of Columbia as sort of this feudal relationship. And I really don't think we have as many friends on the Democratic Party side as we would like to believe. And I just think they're so accustomed to having us in that kind of subordinate relationship. And I don't mean it even in a unkind way. It's just that they have access to this federal city. They don't want us to become a separate sovereign entity. Maybe with the original creation of the Washington, D.C., there was always that anxiety of it becoming a state and having the capacity to challenge what was then a very fragile federal system. And I think we've still struggled with that tension, even in 2013.
Tony and Marion, I would ask both of you all to even expound. Barack Obama came in office and had a majority in both houses. Why didn't it happen then?
My view is that right now, more people in the United States live in a metropolitan area now than live in a rural area. That's a big watershed moment. In 2050, 75% of the world's population is going to live in an urban area. And I say that because politically and demographically, the country is becoming more urban, it's becoming more progressive, but as a kind of almost like legacy vestige, constitutionally and structurally, it's still Republican and urban. That's why you still have a Republican House, even though Democrats got more votes. So what's keeping us back, I think, statehood-wise and self-determination-wise, is it's more Democratic voice, and I think there's also back out there this anti-urban kind of feeling, which is related racially, going on too.
Any prediction quickly on when statehood might happen? Mayor for life.
Let me answer the original question. It's very clear to me that there are some people don't want statehood, us to have statehood, because one, electorally, we would have 2 senators that are more than likely going to be Democratic. We are urban. We are predominantly, we're still close to be predominantly black. We're going to have a black representative, like Eleanor Holmes Norton up there. And we're urban, so you got all those forces coalescing around us. I think the most predominant one, quite frankly, is race. I really do. I think if we were majority white, District of Columbia, we'd have been further along in this whole thing.
So let me ask, so the city, Washington, D.C., is becoming more and more Caucasian. And do you think with the advent of that there might be a greater likelihood of D.C. getting statehood?
That might be, except here's the problem, I think. We've had over 30,000 people in the last 2 years coming to Washington, D.C. Most of them have been upper middle and middle class people, white people, about 90% of them, 95%. The problem with people coming to Washington, we had to get them activated and actively involved in us. A lot of the people who come here still have votes in other states. Now, if we can mobilize them to call their senators and Congress people, that may be an asset, Tony. They are here.
Well, let me
I talked
say,
to Gregory about it just last week. How do we get the new people coming in and be active, one in the neighborhood, and not just take it over, but be a part of it? And since we're talking about gentrification de facto, is that I'm for that as long as it doesn't displace people who've been here, and people who are here, who are renting or buying their home. Now, I can understand a senior citizen who bought their home at about $40,000, $35,000, sometime back 37 years ago, and get offered $500,000, $400,000, $200,000. I understand that dynamic. I think the solution to that is for the district to encourage a livable income for people, livable places for people with who want to retire and who want to still stay in the District of Columbia rather than go to no abuse reigning in the Sean. But I'm pro DC. I'm pro Prince George's. I'm pro a lot of things, except that when it comes down to the bottom line, I'm pro DC.
Yeah, let me just say, let me just say, you know, we started this program out just saying this is our launch, and you know, we wanted to, you know, stay on a very positive on a very positive note. And frankly, I'm gonna say that this is positive. You know, the name of this outfit that houses this radio station is We Act. And as I come in and offer my voice, it is going to be a voice that is intended to cause folks to act. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, I think that there is a real vacuum of activist activity. You know, there are congressmen that cast their votes on Capitol Hill that live in this area, and I think some direct action, like showing up at their offices and at their homes, and things of that nature, is something that is needed, and it's certainly going to be something that, as long as I'm able to sit behind this microphone, that I am absolutely going to be advocating. I'm going to be advocating.
Thank God for you, Rock.
I'm telling you, man. No, you know, it's far too long that the District of Columbia has been treated. You know, it's not just a damn slogan, taxation without representation. It's in my estimation, it is an absurdity. The number of people, I don't want to get on a soapbox, but the number of people that have died in wars, the number of taxes that the District of Columbia residents pay, more than many, many, many states. You know, it is democracy. This is the nation's capital, and we don't have democracy being practiced in the nation's capital. Yes, how are we going to go to some banana republic or some, you know, place in Africa and talk about democracy? You know, I mean, there's a certain hypocrisy and absurdity to that, and I'll be speaking about it.
Yeah, I think you ought to, because there's inconsistency. For you, you know, we do pay more taxes per capita than Alaska, except Alaska. Yep. We do play. We're going to wars. We're good citizens. We have everything. When I think about Washington, D.C., I think about the Boston Tea Party, where the people in the new republic, before coming to the republic, they just got tired of it. Tired of England taxing the tea that was grown here. They're not getting any benefits from it. And so we're at the same spot.
Well, it's always been interesting to me as a native of the city why we were so slow to be activists.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the psyche of the Hatch Act, you know, people survive in that federal bureaucracy, primarily the major employer of the city, by being politically correct. You know, otherwise you could be at risk in terms of losing your very good job. But, you know, I think so much of you ask, what would it take to bring it about? It takes the spirit and will of the people. If there were an impatience on the part of the District of Columbia resident about this outrageous arrangement, with media being what it is, it would end. But there has not been that collective impatience. When we got home rule, when there was a level of that collective impatience. And maybe with a new generation or an influx of new players in Washington, individuals who are accustomed to functioning as full citizens in this country, maybe it is possible that they will express that sort of collective impatience once they feel really immersed in the city and claim the city as their home.
Sharon, thank you for that. We're just about, we've got some time here. Yes, still. Lorenzo, I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
Back to National Harbor, back to MGM Grand, and to the extent that I can, for the citizens in this metropolitan area, because what I know is that D.C., Maryland, and Virginia is going to enjoy the benefits of what your company is bringing to National Harbor.
Please come out, spend all your money in Prince George's County. We'd appreciate it.
When
leave a little bit in D.C. now, just a tiny bit.
When are the doors going to open?
Well, you know, the plan is to have the casino. We still have to go through a competition for the site location, but if we're successful, we plan on building an 800 plus million. When we're successful.
Being from here like I am, we got some fellas that can go down and help make sure that
all right.
we get through that process. But I'm
but an $800 million facility, 3,500 jobs, and D.C. Will benefit from that also.
Absolutely.
Prince George's County will obviously benefit from it. 350, 400-room hotel, plus 17 food and beverage outlets. I mean, it's a phenomenal facility. But $800+ million is what we've designed at this point so far. So we'll be submitting in the RFP, and we will be successful. We've got to be positive about it, and we feel very, very good about the product we're bringing to Prince George's County.
Lorenzo, thanks so much for showing up today. We have in studio D.C. Shadow Senator Paul Strauss.
Good
Paul,
to be here.
what we going to do to get statehood, man?
Well, I think you're helping by just being here and talking about the issue. You know, we're at a very interesting time in this movement because one of statehood's biggest enemies has been the National Rifle Association. We got a voting rights bill out of the House. We got a voting rights bill out of the Senate.
Would it be politically incorrect in the nation's capital for me to say everybody in the NRA or the leadership should all be shot? No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That's a joke.
But I think at a time when the nation is reevaluating their relationship and their understanding of that institution and the role that they've played, we need to out them as one of the leading opponents of statehood, one of the leading opponents of democracy. And they do it simply because they don't like the way we would advocate on issues for our constituents. And this is a moment that we need to take advantage of.
Are you saying out them as in bring Wayne LaPierre out of the closet?
Well, I think out them as enemies of democratic rights. You know, they talk about, this is an organization that supposedly is founded to protect constitutional rights, and yet they focus on one amendment, which they misinterpret, and then they work to deny us our First Amendment rights, our Fifth Amendment rights, our 14th Amendment rights. So every important aspect of the Constitution, rights that should be protecting D.C. residents, they're working against. And I think the public now realizes, you know, given the tragedies that we've seen in Newtown, how destructive this organization has been to the body politic.
Rusharon Baker, aside from the fact that Glenda Moore Wilson lives in Prince George's County, why should residents looking for an area, looking to move to the metropolitan area, why should they choose PG County?
For Prince George's County? You know, I think if you're looking for an area that's growing, that has, you know, just think of all the things that the county has to offer. Not only are we bringing MGM down to National Harbor, we're also redeveloping around our metro stations. Thanks to the good work of Mayor Barry, we have a lot of residents that work for not only the federal government, but have good government jobs and good businesses. But I think if you're looking for the growth in the Washington area, it's in Prince George's County. I do believe, you know, we're going to be able to work with the district to expand what you see on H Street and U Street and Rhode Island Avenue in the Arts District, all the way over to Prince George's County. So making this really a seamless urban area. So for young people and opportunities, it's right here in the county. Let me say this about statehood real quick. When the governor did his State of the State address this year, Mayor Gray came down. And one of the loudest applause that the governor got was when he introduced the mayor as the governor of New Columbia. And you probably wouldn't have seen that probably 15, 20 years ago. I mean, people would have looked at him like he was crazy if he'd introduced the mayor as that. So you see that, you know, time and effort, and I think people are understanding that we're all part of this Washington region, and we, as the district goes, so do we all. But we love Prince George's County. I'd love to see people, you know, move to Prince George's County. I think we have a lot to offer. You know, Mayor Barry, if you want to send some folks our way, we'll take them.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Especially if they have high incomes.
The idea of Prince George's County and the district sort of forming a good coalition is very exciting to me, because we want to try to attract people to this region first. That's the idea of coming. And two, we are the nation's capital. And all of us feel very proud of it, whether we live in Washington or not. We are proud to be the nation. I'm proud of the nation's capital, even though it has a defect in it in terms of statehood, etc. So I think we just all come together. Some people would like to live in an intense urban area like we have here. Some people like to live in a little sprawling area to some extent, like Prince George's County. And then you have, enclaves of Mitchellvilles and others that are there. On the other hand, we have the U Street area now is going fast to newcomers and Shaw, and some parts of Georgetown, some parts of Foggy Bottoms, and et cetera. So we all have our attractions, and we just have to work together to help people make a choice in terms of coming to Prince George's County. I'm supposed to be for everything in Washington because I'm elected from people in Washington, but on the other hand, I recognize, particularly as black people, we have an opportunity to have this metropolitan area with Prince George's and the district. Prince George's County is already the most income-wise richest county in America. It's majority black. That's a good asset. We need to get some. And I tell you what I will take from you, Sean and Wayne.
You tell me, and I'll tell you what I give you.
Hold on. We'll take some middle-class black people coming here.
Let me tell you. You mentioned the term recognize, and something that I better recognize is the fact that, I need to treat my advertisers and sponsors extraordinarily well as we launch this program, and we're getting close to wrapping up. And I want to say again to those of you who are listening, who are watching via live streaming, and who are listening on the web, that the sponsors that I have, and one of them is Henry's Soul Cafe. The three sponsors that I have right now, Henry's Soul Cafe and the MGM Grand, National Harbor, MGM, and Pohanka. These are all entities that I have true personal involvement with. In addition to them being the best in class and being the best at what they do, we also, this last hour has been brought to you in part by Mount Vernon Triangle Community Improvement District, DC's newest neighborhood to live, work, and play. There you can enjoy great shopping, dining, best downtown has to offer. Visit MountVernonTriangle.org, DC's best place to be. This has been an absolutely fantastic 3 hours. I'm going to ask all of you in the listening audience to remember, we're going to be doing this every Saturday. Our effort is going to be to make this the best 3 hours in all of radio. We will be back next week, same time, same place, 9 a.m. to noon, and we care. We will be bringing it. It is WPWC 1480 AM. You can listen to it on the World Wide Web at weactradio.com and rocknewmanradio.com. I want to bid you farewell and thank all of my guests from the bottom of my heart for showing up and making this a special radio launch and a very special birthday.
Let's give Rock a round of applause. Hurry, Rock. Come on, man. There's Glenn.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Take Action News. This is Daniel Marins in for David Schuster today.
on this Saturday, February 23rd. David Schuster is away on his honeymoon. We want to congratulate David Schuster and his lovely wife, Kira Rennert. I know I was at their beautiful wedding in New York City last Saturday night, and it was just an extraordinary affair. A lot of dancing, family, friends, and yes, a lot of folks from the media world. Sam Feist, CNN's Washington bureau chief, was there, as well as Daniel Gross, the business and economics editor for the Daily Beast. It was really just a wonderful affair, and we wish them all the best. We know they have a child on the way, and we're really looking forward to seeing the young little Schuster come on Take Action News when he's ready. But right now, they're on vacation in the mountains of Tennessee. We've got a great show ahead of us today. A lot of things going on in the news today. It looks like sequestration is about to take effect. Those are the automatic spending cuts that could virtually bring the federal government to a standstill. We'll give you all the latest details on that and analysis. We're going to be talking about the latest on immigration reform, gun control with Cliff Schechter. We're also going to be talking about a new expose on the AstroTurf organization funded by billionaire Pete Peterson that is trying to cut your Social Security and Medicare benefits. But first, there's been a story in the news that has captivated the attention of people around the world. Olympic runner, the Blade Runner, Oscar Pistorius. He was a double amputee who in this past Olympics in 2012 stunned the world by reaching the semifinals in short distance running using prosthetic blade-looking type legs. He's a runner from South Africa. He's age 26. Well, he's stunned the world once again, but this time not in a positive way. About a week ago, Oscar Pistorius was arrested at his home for shooting and killing his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, an accomplished model and law student, at their home in a gated community in Pretoria, South Africa. Now, Pistorius claims that it was an act of self-defense. He believed that he was about to be robbed. He did shoot her 4 times. The prosecution claims that Pistorius does have apparently a reputed record of domestic abuse against this girlfriend and that this was a case of premeditated murder. So, a lot of things going on here, and I'm going to bring in person sitting in my associate producer's chair today, Pete Johnny Depp Callahan. As always, we have Rich Webster on the board, of course. And Rich, how you doing in the studio today?
I'm hanging in there. How are we doing, Daniel?
We're doing all right. I think we need to turn up the volume just a little bit in my headphones here. But Rich, you're looking good as always. I like the hat you're wearing. I think you're our style consultant a little bit. Pete, what do you make of this Pistorius case?
I don't know. I think it's really sad, but I think that the guy, it sounds like, had a lot of rage issues, and so you know that's the product of that.
Yeah, I mean, on the face of it, and again, we're hesitant to jump to conclusions in terms of innocence and guilt, but on the face of it, if the accusations are true, it will appear to be a case, perhaps a tragic case, of male insecurity and taking that out in violence towards women gone much too far. As of now, Pistorius is back in his home with his family members because he has been released on bail of $11